Hello and welcome to RPG Research. I'm your host and game master, Hawk Robinson, and founder of the 501c3 nonprofit RPG Research, charitable research and human services organization studying the effects of all role-playing game formats and their potential to help improve lives. In fact, we have a new little blurb here that we're working on. We are helping people heal and improving the quality of life for diverse populations around the world by providing accessible and inclusive collaborative research-supported programs using music and role-playing games. I've been involved, John's been involved since the 70s with role-playing games. When did you start gaming, Shane? Since we're the elder
ran my
folk.
first game in 1980. That was the first time I played a role-playing game.
Okay. So, and then since 83 is when I first started researching the effects of role-playing games. I started providing programs in schools with role-playing games in 85 and in therapeutic settings and online since 2004. And we've been online as RPG Research Project since 2004. And now we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're an open international community sharing, studying, and providing these accessible and inclusive collaborative music and games to help improve people's lives. Check out our schedule. It's all over our website now. We've got about between 7 to 10 programs a week, different times of the day, so that we allow people who are in different time zones, because we have volunteers across 4 continents. About half are here in the region, and then the rest are scattered across the U.S. and several other continents, all the way out to Saudi Arabia. And so check out our website, rpgresearch.com, and you can get all the info on it. That way I don't have to read the whole blurb here. We can just get going. So we alternate on Mondays and Thursdays between applied gaming and RPG theory and training. And today is an applied gaming day. So we were thinking about campaign cartographer, but I've been juggling a lot. I didn't have time to set that up. And I've been wanting to, John and I have talked about it many times, wanting to introduce people to BECMI, Basic Expert Companion Masters of Mortals D&D, classic D&D. There's some things I really like about it that we're going to get into. However, so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to make characters, which won't take very long. Hold up your character sheets. Character generation is quick. Hold up both pages so they can see both. Look at how simple those character sheets are. Everybody talks about D&D's too complicated and takes too long to make characters and blah, 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 blah. You know, all you old grognards and everything, you know, you need to simplify. You make things too complicated. Like, where do you think it started?
What is grognard?
Yes, point of
old school gamer, that's my
It's a reference to war gamers, by the way.
Old school gamers. An old soldier is the original meaning.
Right.
Someone who enjoys playing board war games, particularly the counter-heavy strategy board war games from the 70s and 80s. Someone who enjoys playing previous editions of role-playing games when new editions of the game are available. In other words, old fogies.
Okay.
Now, we take on new stuff all the time, so we're not really grognards. We're experienced older gamers, some of us, some are not, some are new. But I'm not stuck in the past. I just actually happen to have a historic perspective. Like those who do not remember history are doomed to repeat it. Good and bad. So they keep. So a lot of people. Like a lot of people have been trying to create simpler role-playing games because they said they're too technical, too complicated, and we want more ROLE playing over ROLL playing. Well, okay. Here is the original Dungeons and Dragons, the original, 1974. I mean, this is the reprint, but it's the original D&D. I do have one of the old brown ones from the 70s. This is the black one. It's the second, the first supplement too. And these are kind of a mess because they were evolving, but they are very simple. You only needed a D20 and a D6 initially. Everybody had just a 6-sided die for hit points between all your classes. There were only a handful of classes, like 3 or 4 classes. It was very simple. Maybe a little too simple, as they found as they refined it. And then eventually they did refine it. But there was a little bit of a split in how much detail they wanted. So one camp, which Gygax and such led by, came out with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, first edition, which took a lot of these booklets. It was in the Greyhawk setting, etc., and put in lots of extra options. They had a core that was fairly complicated, especially compared to the original, and then left a lot of options, a lot of flexibility. Oh crap! I got it. Luckily, it's still too much. And so, but then there were some others who wanted to keep it simpler, but wanted it to be more organized, because the problem with this, so I've run this before, like we did A0 and such back at Merlin's. You have to flip through 7 booklets, and it's really disorganized, because it was released more like a magazine, really, as they were kind of discovering and figuring it out. Have you seen these before, Riley? Shane?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember when they first came out.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't actually start playing until 1980.
Rolling dice.
Yeah, I'd like to know where they went. They're probably in my bag here. So they came out with the basic D&D, which I've got the older one before the Frank Mentzer version. So we usually give you a little bit of history lesson before we get into the games and such, so you have context.
Oh, we were going to read from Tolkien.
Yes, we're going to in a minute.
Did you start recording?
Yes. Thank you for double checking.
Are we broadcasting? Because you just said that
we started broadcasting first.
Did we introduce ourselves?
No.
Well, I did myself. Why don't you guys go ahead while I'm doing this?
I'm John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research and Addicted Dungeon Master.
No, you're not addicted. You're not selling yourself on Sprague yet.
My name is Danielle, and I am the treasurer and GM level 1 trainee and architect specialist.
Oh, yes.
The older ones.
I am Riley. I'm just some kid who wanted to.
You're an architect.
Fine, I'm also an architect specialist.
I said the wrong thing. I meant, I do it all. Let's just move on.
Many hats.
Many hats.
GM level 1 trainee, advocate trainee.
Advocate.
I have been attempting since I very first started, because I like stories of different backgrounds, to recruit players of all kinds of backgrounds, disabilities, whatever, because I want everyone to play. And that's still my motto today. I want everyone to play.
Woo! Yeah, and we're definitely about that inclusiveness and accessibility, making it so that everybody can play. So, there were a number of different revisions that came out. This is the 1979 version of Dungeons and Dragons, the blue. So they listed it. Interestingly enough, they listed it, I think, as 3rd edition. Yeah, 3rd edition, December 1979.
Oh, wow.
That's 3rd edition D&D, folks. Most of this book is taken up by spells. Like the rules for the character classes, very minimal. There's not much in here. It's 46 pages total. Your classes, let's see if they have a quick summary. of them at this stage. It still wasn't super organized. It was getting better. At least it's in one book instead of 6. Hopeless characters.
Everything I rolled was below a 5. That's a hopeless character.
Yeah, let's read. I don't remember seeing that phrase in here. Hopeless characters, page 8. Actually, okay, I got to do it before I'm all over today.
Yeah.
All right, today is also Tolkien Reading Day. So, and I also had a question today from somebody about who your favorite poet is. And there's lots of great ones out there. But I think one that's really not, people don't realize is that Tolkien actually cranked out a ton of poetry. Now, he tended to try different styles, and he ended up generally going towards the more archaic style because he really liked that. That's just where he was with his being a professor of Old and Middle Anglo-Saxon and such. Old and Middle English, Old Anglo-Saxon, etc. So his stuff's written in a very archaic style that's not accessible to a lot of people. And he hated Chaucer, by the way. He hated Chaucer's work. He also originally used to really like George MacDonald's work. And then when he was asked to write the preface back in the 1960s, he went and reread them and found, and I'm paraphrasing his quote, but he says he found he could not stand his work in any way, shape, or form after that because it was so in your face, trying to teach you a moral lesson from a religious perspective. He found it like just belittling. So he ended up not doing it. And that's when he ended up trying to write stories like Leaf by Niggle and Farmer Giles of Ham and things like that. He tried to rewrite one of those stories the way he would like it to be, which he did. And so if you ever come to our Tolkien Society meetings on the third Saturday of each month from 1 to 3 p.m., it's tolkienscholars.org. We go into great depth about that and answer any questions on
I
that.
have a fun fact. I'm actually a published poet.
Are you now?
Yeah. I have
Do
one
tell.
poem published by my high school.
Well,
and one
cool.
poem published when I was a really young kid.
She's a poet and we didn't know it. Very cool. What was your topic on?
It was we got to write whatever we wanted, and I went for a more I don't know. I took a lot from a lot of different people.
Okay.
It's a pretty long poem.
Now, some of my favorite stuff is his Beren and Luthien pieces. I'm a hopeless romantic, and I think he was too. He adored his wife. And if you ever, so Aragorn and Arwen, for those of you familiar with the Lord of the Rings, if you're familiar with that story, it's a Romeo and Juliet type situation. Well, there was a predecessor to that long before that he was writing back in Silmarillion called Beren and Luthien. And it was the ultimate. So Luthien was half High Noldor elf and half Maiar, which means basically half goddess. Her mother was a goddess, and her father was the king of the Noldor elves at the time, back during the First and Second Ages and such, in Doriath. And Beren was a lowly man, and stumbled across her in the woods one night when she was dancing, and they fell immediately in love, and this was forbidden love. And so the father gave him an impossible task, and then, stuff ensued, and he died in the process of trying to fulfill the quest for his love and everything. And it involves the Silmarils in every way. Great story. Both the poetic version and the written. So a lot of it's in the Children of Húrin. It's a better version in the Children of Húrin, but of course the Silmarillion gives you a shorter version. But on Tolkien and his wife's tombstones, it says, "Here lies Beren and Luthien."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was his love story because his wife came from a little upper income. His father died when he was young. His mother had been ostracized for marrying a Catholic. So they'd been shunned. She died, so they were orphans taken in by the Catholic Church by a priest. He and his brother, were not well-to-do at all. Luckily, were able to get a good education, and he excelled and became a Don of Oxford and such. But he fell in love with his to-be wife. The family said, not a chance. He's a loser. Don't let him near you. So they said, well, you can't get near her until you're 21. And then he went and fought in World War I. He fought in the Battle of the Somme, which was horrific. Most of his friends died. He got trench fever. Anyway, he eventually came back, after the war. The day he turned 21, he showed up. This is like 5 years later or something. Years later, he did. They corresponded, but they could not see her. And yeah, anyway, it was. And her health was always a struggle. But they had like 5 kids, and he was a doting, loving father, and he worked hard. And anyway, we read through his letters all the time, and so for me, I don't always agree with some of his conclusions, but there's a lot of things I read of his that touch me personally. Now, this is not one of them. I just grabbed it random because this is his most recent book that was released posthumously by his son Christopher Tolkien, who's like 94, and it was still, he finally had stepped down, although he said that last year when he released Beowulf, Tolkien's version of Beowulf. By the way, if you ever heard of Beowulf, that's because of Tolkien. He's the one who got that into schools. Before that, nobody knew of it. Anyway, so this is from The Fall of Gondolin, which is the most recent book. This is an earlier draft he did in poetic form, and gnomes are referring to the Noldor elves. They're not gnomes like D&D gnomes. This is before he settled on the names. These are early drafts that he started when he was quite young, and he rewrote and rewrote. I'm only going to read just a little bit from it, and then we're going to get going on the game here. But since it's Tolkien reading day, we're going to read a quick little blurb. But the gnomes were numbered by name and kin, marshalled and ordered in the mighty square upon the crown of Kor. There cried aloud the fierce son of Finn, flaming torches he held and whirled in his hands aloft, those hands whose craft, the hidden secret, knew that none, gnome or mortal, hath matched or mastered in magic or in skill. Lo, slain is my sire by the sword of fiends, his death he has drunk as the door of this his hall. And deep fastness where darkly hidden the 3 were guarded, the things unmatched, that gnome and elf and the 9 Valar can never remake or renew on earth, recarve or rekindle by craft or magic, not Feanor Finn's son, who fashioned them of yore. The light is lost, whence he lit them first, the fate of Faerie hath found its hour. And it goes on. So it's talking about the Silmarils and all these different things just in that short little bit in a poetic style. So there's a lot more, but now, he would introduce his Anglo-Saxon Old English class when you first came up in his classroom. He'd walk up, and he was apparently he was a great academic, probably a terrible teacher. By all accounts, he was very rambling and talked kind of like this, and it was really hard to follow, and his thoughts would go off on tangents and everything else, and it was just really hard. And he's mumbling and difficult to understand, and but he was mumbling and difficult to understand, though. That's a big one.
We both looked at each other at the same time.
I saw that, but I at least enunciate clearly.
Point of order, Riley and I said nothing. I was just thinking.
We didn't say
I'm a terrible teacher. Oh.
No, we're just
On tangents.
Yeah, that part I understand.
tangents and rambling.
We've only been recording for what, 15 minutes?
I know. So, well, you got me going on Tolkien. Oh man,
I
you're
know.
in trouble.
And now you're going to do some research.
That was my
on
fault.
it.
Hey.
Yes, it was.
I blame you.
So, speaking of poets, you know who Seamus Heaney is? Famous Irish poet.
Sounds familiar.
Translation of Beowulf from around 2000. However, when it comes to considering Beowulf as a work of literature, there is one publication that stands out. In 1936, the Oxford scholar and teacher J.R.R. Tolkien published an epic-making paper entitled Beowulf, the Monsters and the Critics, which took for granted the poem's integrity and distinction as a work of art and proceeded to show in what this integrity and distinction inhered. Tolkien's brilliant literary treatment changed the way the poem was valued and initiated a new era and new terms of appreciation. It is impossible to attain a full understanding and estimate of Beowulf without recourse to this immense body of commentary and elucidation. So that's Beowulf, the Monsters and the Critics. If you ever had to take Beowulf in high school, or now it's college level only, or whatever, I had to take it in elementary school. Tells you how education system has gone. Actually, it was elective, but it was there in 5th grade, right? I loved it. You can thank Tolkien for that. Some people hate it. Some people love it. The movies that have come out because of it, you can thank Tolkien because nobody really paid any attention to it. It was a historical, archaeological thing before that writing.
I'm waiting for a good Gilgamesh movie.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
that'd be nice.
There have been a lot of like modern representations. So here is how Tolkien, he would just walk up, put his books down. He was in his tweed suit and everything.
His pipe dangling from
You know,
lips.
and this is when you could actually understand him. The rest of the time he'd just be blah, 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 blah. Kind of like King on the Hill, except British
Right.
instead of.
Instead of Southern.
This is how he would introduce your first day of the class.
He's referring to King of the Hill, not King on the Hill.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Who it? We got in a Galdargum. Vilchin got a Perm Garfun, and like just full odd to be heard in a huge crowd of Norse Vikings and such. He would just bellow forth. Is how students describe this. So they'd all be kind of scratching and talking, and he would just give out that bellowing. What?
What language is that in?
It's old Anglo-Saxon.
Okay. My
So-
brain was like.
I tried to read Old Anglo-Saxon. It was
So this
I
this
what
version
did I do?
has the Anglo-Saxon and then the translation. This particular translation from Seamus Heaney. And then Tolkien wrote his own translation, which his son published just a couple years ago. So, which is supposed to be one of the. This was the most accessible version. Now there's an argument between the two. So anyway, all right, we're done reading Tolkien. This is not the Tolkien Society, but we got in our little Tolkien reading.
Okay.
So, and so they moved the microphone away, so hopefully I didn't blow too many eardrums off.
That one. Probably caught it all.
It's pointing in the other direction and is highly directional.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was probably loud, but we do have
called a
filters on
shotgun
there.
mic for a reason.
Yeah. Okay. So, BECMI, Basic Expert Companion Master. We've done a little bit of the history on that. Here's some of the prior versions. Hopeless characters.
Nope.
Sometimes the universe of chance allows a character to appear who is below average in everything. Now, this is important to what we're about to do. So,
Okay, I know. I was just
poo-poo.
joking.
Shut up.
At the dungeon master's discretion,
Which he doesn't have any.
such a character might be declared unsuitable for dangerous adventures and left at home. Another character would then be rolled to take the place. There is enough chance in the dungeon encounters, however, that sometimes a character like this will survive and advance to a position of power and importance. So don't automatically just give up because you have a crappy character. Have you guys watched the Gamer's Zero precursor where he's rolling up his character over and over and over and mark the red?
Yes.
And then he throws it over his shoulder. And then later, it's in the fantasy world, there's a pile of his character's bodies all scattered around the shadows chamber. Yeah. That's what you're doing every time you throw a character away without giving him a chance to adventure. I love how Matt's mind works. All right. We have already done a whole section, you can check it out, on the player's manual for BECMI. This is arguably, to date, still the best single introduction to role-playing gaming published. Now, I'm not saying that lightly.
I don't think you have any basis on this claim.
We've been doing these we've been analyzing games for years. We've been trying to find something better. I want to find something better than something from 1982. That's no longer in print. You can get a PDF in print, thankfully, legally on DriveThruRPG for like $5. Mm-hmm. But I would really like it to be either print on demand or something new. Now, the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu almost did it. They did do a good job on the player side in the introduction. And so it's good for just the player to learn how to do a solo adventure role-playing game, not just a solo adventure book, but a solo adventure role-playing game. 7th edition Call of Cthulhu, nicely done. We played it on air, Riley and Danielle, and the audience picked the choices, and we destroyed several square miles of New Hampshire.
necessarily
Yeah,
advancing.
15.
And I was telling my son about where that was, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I think I know where that is," because he's lived. All three of my boys now live in New Hampshire. But then the GM then has to read the entire adventure and then memorize it, and it doesn't have good quote out sections, and it's a lot of prep work to DM the new Call of Cthulhu, which is what keeps happening. There's been this whole thing shying away from adventure modules because a lot of people just want to create their own, and I'm all for that. But I think what did it, and Ironcrown Enterprises, I think, really figured this out very well, who made MERP and Rollmaster and such. They started making adventure modules that sold really well, and then they started adding more and more content, Then they became campaign modules. And MERP and Ironcrown Enterprises kind of separated the two between adventure modules and source material campaign modules because they were for two different types of dungeon masters. And then they even broke that down into another type of the ready-to-play adventure modules that you could quickly jump into and play. Wizards, the D&D stopped doing that, right? After about second edition, it seemed like second edition is where they started they did a lot in second edition, but it seemed like they were starting to shy away from it in second edition in the 90s.
I agree.
And third edition, they did a few adventure modules, but they were mostly campaigns and source material, etc. So raise your hand if you've ever played basic D&D before of any variant of this. Like, just raise your hand if you ever played it before.
That's where I started.
Did we play it?
We did the solo of this. So raise your hand first if you were on the show when we did the solo of this. Okay. Now, prior to that, have you ever played basic D&D? Raise your hand. So John and
I started with
Advanced D&D. Okay. And so this is a version that a lot of people don't really understand or appreciate.
I started that blue book.
You started with Blue Book. Okay.
1979.
Okay.
I did have friends who
started
had
with
that,
the
and I read through it a lot, but I never actually played that version because
Whatever the reasons. Yeah. And I mostly played first edition, but I did get to play and GM BECMI, and I really loved it, especially as it advanced, because it is much simpler and easier to get into, and your characters die quickly, but it's really easy to make a new one, so no big deal. It was just kind of the core of it. But what's interesting is after you get above basic and expert's about to 14th level or 10th level or so. That's where it starts to get really different from AD&D and other versions. Because when you get the companion and the masters and immortals level, it's all about building up first your kingdoms and your domains, right? And AD&D had that where it gave you instructions on how to build up your keep and save up money and henchmen and all of that. But it didn't really provide a whole lot of adventures for that. Like, your adventures were supplementary to that. These actually provided adventures to build up your kingdoms and domains and eventually work towards godhood. Like, at least be a superhero type hero, like Hercules type hero. 36th level on up. The Castle Guide in second edition. Yeah, there were lots and lots. That's second edition. But the DMG of first edition had all of that. And so this starts really, really basic. Now, they did a reprinting of it in the late 80s, early 90s, and put it all together, except for Immortals. They left Immortals out. They did BECM, not BECMI, in the Rules Cyclopedia, and they compiled it with some of the settings. So in the back, and you guys have some copies here. Go and pass one down there, and you have one. So this is print on demand soft copy, print on demand hard copy, and then I have an actual original here.
And you can tell the difference in the quality of the printing.
There are definitely differences.
Oh, yeah.
This looks like it's a photocopy of a photocopy.
Yeah.
It does.
well, in some cases that
It's
might
kind
be
of
all
hard
they
to
have.
read.
This looks kind of already falling
I
apart.
think people
Is it?
with certain disabilities
We
would not
barely
be able
used it.
to.
No. Well, anyway, in the back,
Is the binding there?
you'll notice if you take a look at your simple character sheets that we're going to start with.
Oh, it's just glued. That's your problem. It's not.
Okay, well, anyway, hold up your simple character sheets, the 2 pages. So that's what we'll be starting with, because we'll whip up characters quickly. Now flip back to page, I don't know if the page numbers are even on here, but almost to the very end, just before the index, you've got a character record sheet with a spell book sheet, and then adventure record sheet, and then some hex paper. See that? So that's your more advanced character sheets. Now, there's actually a nicer version of
And
that.
character cards.
Yeah, before that, yeah. They thought of all this before. None of this is original. So here is the nicer version of that you'll get to as you start leveling up. Right, we'll get to, still a lot of blank spaces just for you to fill in as you want. It's very customizable. This is still not a heavy sheet at all. But I'll hold that up to a camera or something. We are not talking a lot of interfering detail. So you saw that. I was going to mention that the DM's character card. Mm-hmm. So, for NPCs or keeping track of the PCs, either one. Then if you go towards the front a little bit more, you'll see there's a bunch of full color maps, and these are for the settings to go adventure around, right? And they included it with it. So in fact, you get to Hollow World, the Hollow World and again, no page number, and the world of Mystera, right? So we got multiple adventure worlds to play in, included with this. And BECMI didn't do that. BECMI didn't really lock you into a setting. And this kind of did, but, it's flexible. But it gave you the resources to do it if you wanted. So that's kind of a nice feature. They tried to organize it all into one book. However, in so doing, this is not as easy to, in layers, introduce somebody to a new game as easily. Because it throws everything at you. So I want to do a little compare and contrast as we go through my characters. So we're going to start with the BECMI one. John, there should be some more. They're not.
I have one of your copies.
Oh, that's why. Shoot, I didn't know that. We still have that, huh?
But you did know that.
I forgot. All right. Well, then I'll just have to read aloud. And we're not going to go through the solo, where it teaches you one stat at a time and has you play the game. We already did that. You can watch that in a previous episode on youtube.com/RPG Research on how to play. So this is after you've done all of that, and you're going to make your first character. And I would like you also to find out in the Rules Cyclopedia where it says to make your first character. So I am on...
I right up to it.
Yeah, you did.
Right there.
6.
Page 6.
Wow, that's really hard
So
to
it's still solo adventure, and by the way, they took out the solo adventures in the Cyclopedia, unfortunately, which is a real bummer. All right, so on this one, it's on page 23. Where is it on the Cyclopedia?
6.
Yeah, I know. Right? It's in the middle.
Oh, it opened right to it. Okay.
Super
So in there, it says steps to creating a character 1 through 12. On page 6 there, which is nice. But you'll notice the classes you'll see over on page 7. You've got cleric, fighter, magic user, thief, dwarf, elf, halfling, druid, mystic. However, in BECMI, you just have cleric, fighter, thief, elf, magic user, halfling, dwarf were the classes to choose from in BECMI. Well, it is in both of them.
Dwarf, elf, and
but
halfling.
druid and mystic are not in here.
Druid had to be 9th level to even touch.
Yeah.
And Mystic had really high scores.
Yeah, they're kind of prestige classes and such. So these are the core. This was including what was added in later editions. So do we want... how do you guys want to... Since we have 3 copies of this, do we want to go through this for the character creation, even though it's going to be a little more complicated? But I'll kind of be looking in here, or do you want to do it from here and be just checking in there as far as comparing and contrasting?
For me, I'd like to go for this first.
Because it's more organized? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, step number 1, roll for ability scores. Wait for it.
3d6.
Wait for it. So it lists all of your ability scores. And we will be rolling the 7th one that you'll add at the bottom for comeliness, CMS.
Which is nowhere in any of these books.
I know. That's just my thing for every role-playing game ever. Yes. So, you roll dice to find each ability score. It's done by rolling the 6-sided die 3 times and adding the results. Or if you have 3, roll them together. So you roll 3d6. If you roll 1s each time, then the total score is 3, the least possible. The most is 18. You should end up with 6/7 numbers. Between 3 to 18, these are your character's ability scores. Write the scores down as you follow them, next to the names of the abilities.
She got 3.
Okay? So write those down as you go. Everybody watch
They go
your
right
rolls.
next to it. But you like immediately like that's the order you do it in.
You'll be able to adjust your ability scores in step 3. Just write them down on the side for now.
I get another 3 ones, and I'm gonna be done.
Hilarious. Not.
Oh my god.
Not good.
I'm gonna be a fighter.
A fighter with a 3 in strength?
You're gonna be a hopeless.
Well, luckily characters are quick and easy to make, so you just make a new one.
No, I think it's
Okay, so actually character creation is on page 48 here. Interesting.
Oh, I am unlikable.
You are magic.
How did I do that?
Oh my
Oh,
god,
no,
I
it's-
am ugly and unlikable.
Ooh, that's 18. That's your highest
Kind
score.
of funny because I was thinking maybe I'll make a cleric, and that's kind of where I'm sitting.
My highest score is comeliness, and it's a 13.
My highest score is Constitution at 14.
My highest is Constitution.
My lowest score is Comeliness at 4, which only makes up for my charisma of 5.
We've got a winning party here, folks.
Yeah, we do.
Watch
I'm
out,
not
monsters! We're coming for you.
You are. I'm
All right, did everybody roll?
Yeah.
And your comeliness you rolled as well?
Yeah.
All right. So, next is choose a character class. There is a prime requisite requirement. So that's the prime stat that you have to have for that class.
But I don't see where it says a minimum.
Hang on. For example, if you have a constitution of 8 or less, cannot be a dwarf. I'm pretty sure if it's prime requisite, basically it has to be 9. Basically, you have to have a 9 in the prime requisite. Prime requisites back here
So I can be-
requires prowess in one of the abilities each class. These are known as prime requisites.
Man, I hate being the
Talented.
magic user.
Higher it is. Oh, maybe not. Maybe you can be whatever you want,
Well, I'm too dumb to be the magic user.
with some exceptions, because it said for like the racial
You
ones.
want to switch?
So you'll have to look at each class.
So, what's the dwarf, elf, and halfling thing about?
Those are classes.
So, what?
Otherwise, you're human.
Okay. But so if I choose a human, I would be a human cleric. But if
Correct.
I choose a dwarf, I could only be a dwarf.
Correct. That is your class.
Okay.
A dwarf is a fighter cleric multi-class, basically.
Okay.
A halfling is basically a rogue fighter combo. Basically a rogue, really.
I guess I could be an elf.
And we're not doing druid or mystic because you have to be a higher level or whatever. Anyway.
What if I would?
Well, I guess we can do mystic. That
Yeah,
wouldn't
I'm
have to be a
super
higher
close
level.
to being a
Oh
mystic.
wait, no, I couldn't. Because
Well, and you might be able to.
Ooh.
We'll get to that in step 3.
Okay.
But first, you have to pick the class you want to be. So again, you do have some restrictions whether you can qualify or not, and you have to do it at this stage. It looks like. So many of them, it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't have a minimum requirement. It's a prime requisite, but it's not. I don't see where it says you have to have a 9 or higher unless it is a halfling, an elf, or a dwarf,
I think I'm gonna be an elf.
or a mystic. Yeah, dwarf, elf, halfling, and druid and mystic are the ones that
We
have
both keep looking back and
minimum
forth.
requirements.
I could be an
That shocks me. I
Or
could have
just
sworn
straight
it was a
up
9
For what?
for the prime requisites, but I'm not seeing.
You could make it be that.
I'm not
You can
gonna.
be a
We're not gonna
dwarf.
house rule at this point. We're trying to get back to the roots here.
I could be, but why?
I don't know.
Wait, where does it? No, I'm gonna be dwarf.
So, have you already picked your class? Raise your hand if you picked your class. All right. Step 3: adjust your ability scores. You can trade 2 points from one ability score that you don't want to raise your prime requisite only by 1 point. So you can take 2 points from another one to raise your prime 1 point.
Okay.
2 for 1. It's
So my-
expensive.
Can I change?
There's a limit on that.
Ooh, I can do strength.
There are
I'm doing
certain
that.
things you cannot reduce.
Can I not reduce comeliness?
You cannot lower your dexterity, constitution, or charisma.
And you can't lower anything below 9.
Yeah, and you can't go below 9, correct.
Okay, so comeliness it is.
I'm going to be a
Almost
mystic.
11.
I'll just give you my scores.
See, that's why I usually don't let people touch comeliness, because everybody uses the dump stat.
That's not a dump stat. It's my highest stat.
I understand.
I'm not
We're doing
really
BECMI,
lowering
Basic
it.
Expert Companion, Masters and Mortals, Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm not really lowering it. I'm like, it's still pretty
Classic.
high.
1982.
It's still my highest
Although it's the
stat.
reprinted Rules Cyclopedia.
I'm evening my stuff out.
The good thing is in this game, you know what?
Bring it back
In the
to the
basic
actual
version of this game, it's much more about how you ROLE play than ROLL play. Yes, if you're the kind who always charges in, you will die quickly with bad stats. But if you're a smart player, although if you have the dumb intelligence of the character, then you don't have that option. You can live a long time. This
Hey, I can do
so the
that.
Rules Cyclopedia is from 1991, by the way, just for reference sake.
Oh, it's older than me.
What?
It's older than me.
That's older than me.
Yeah. All right, everybody finished adjusting
Sorry,
your
Jim.
ability
No.
scores, or are you still working on it?
Yes.
I'm good.
I think, do I write them in
Solid.
the square now?
What's that?
Do we write them in?
Yeah, go ahead and write your stats in your adjusted stats and write your class down.
Yeah. Oops, it's 11 now.
Okay,
I've moved all the ink from
you're going to flip to page 8.
I'm like,
We're going to roll for hit points.
Ooh.
Not automatic max. You have to roll. So look at your character class and pick the correct size die. You'll notice it only goes from D4 to D6 to D8.
okay.
So 1d6. Come on. Oh my god.
Did you get a 1? I love it. Write it down. Write it down.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
Just fix you.
I'm
Wow.
the squishy elf.
With all those stellar stats as well. You
Oh,
have 3 11s.
I have to. Yeah.
That's your highest.
What? I took my comeliness because
Can't wait to find
there
out what
was
the
nowhere else to
adjustments to
take
those
2
are.
from, really,
They're on the next page.
Okay.
without hurting my other one, and then, because strength was a proficient.
Wait, what else did you increase?
I just increased the
Okay, next we're going to, did you guys all roll your hit points and write it down?
Yep, I got
Okay,
5
for 1.
Good. Danielle?
Oh,
You wrote down your hit points?
Yeah.
Riley?
hit points.
My
Yes,
hit
your hit
points.
point. Luckily, these are quick and easy to make.
Yep.
Roll for money. Roll 3d6 and multiply by 10 to find your character's starting gold pieces.
come on,
Can I
Jerry.
be
Show me the
rich?
money. Show me your money, Jerry.
Multiply by 10.
Okay.
So I have 60.
I'm reporting this.
Where?
Second page.
Second page.
Money and treasure.
That makes sense.
70 GP.
130.
I'm rich.
I'm not even rich.
Yeah,
I'm
130.
I'm pretty.
Now, at this
And
stage, it
squishy.
says go ahead and buy equipment. We're going to come back to that. We're going to do equipment. I always kind of do equipment towards the end there. So the next step then, skipping over number 6 by equipment, is number 7, determine other numbers and rolls. So in this case, there's armor class, attack rolls, saving throws, etc., which calculate from the character's other attributes defined on provided tables. Now, the problem I have with that, I think it's out of order. I really think at this point, we should be doing the stat adjustments
Right.
before you start doing all your totals, right? That seems a little out of order, doesn't it?
And you don't do armor class until after you have your equipment.
Right.
Did we do the stat adjustments already?
No,
No.
we adjusted our ability scores.
Gotcha.
Now your ability scores affect like hit points and stuff. So on page 9, you'll see bonuses and penalties for ability scores. So if your stat, you'll see on your character sheet, can you give me a copy of the black and white so I'm following along with you? I made 10 copies.
Yeah, the more character sheets?
I just need a copy so I can follow along with you.
Okay, my first adjustment is a -1.
Yeah. So you'll see where it says adjustment after the stat. So just look at your stat on the left, look at the ability score there, and then put either, if there's no adjustment, just put a 0. And then it's anywhere between a -1 to a -3 and a +1 to a +3.
I have no.
That's what you put at adjustment.
Oh, look.
I have no
I've
negative.
got a -2 and
It's really interesting to watch this newer generation, including you guys, who we really didn't worry about the stats that much with this particular version. We were much more about let's get playing, let's play the game, let's play the best we can. The stats will have some challenges, but we really didn't get bogged down in worrying about how good the stats were.
Well, I like
And
numbers.
here I
And
am, like,
I know, but it is a migration. People have become much more invested in the min-maxing aspect of the numbers over the decades than they were back then.
Yeah, and
That's
I always
not even- I like to
purposely
have
mess
a-
with my numbers to make it more fun.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
especially in first edition, I think I told you about. I made that wizard, but I actually put his highest ability was strength
Mhm.
and constitution
Mhm.
because first edition grappling rules were just nasty.
Yeah.
So I'd go in dressed like a wizard, and I would start fights for money, and it's just a wizard,
Yeah.
wizard who just
then you
beat
can
you
have shocking grasp while he's paying.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, most of the times I actually didn't have to. First
Right.
edition grappling was just harsh.
It was brutal.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people
We've
overlooked
used it. No, we've used it quite a bit. All right. So go ahead and do all your adjustments.
Okay. What do those adjust now?
Did you put them all? You wrote those all down, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now just raise your hand if you finished, everybody. Okay, good. All right. Choose your character's alignment. Now, it's very simplistic in this version, unless they changed it in here. In BECMI, it's very simple. Let's see if it's still simple. So page...
That's page 10, towards the end of the page.
Alignment, yeah. All you have is lawful, chaos, and neutrality. You don't have good or evil.
Okay.
Yeah.
So law is the belief that everything should follow an order, and that obeying rules is the natural way of life. Lawful creatures will try to tell the truth, obey laws that are fair, keep promises, and care for all living things. If a choice must be made between the benefit of a group or an individual, a lawful character will usually choose the group. Sometimes individual freedoms must be given up for the good of the group. Lawful characters and monsters often act in predictable ways. Lawful behavior is usually the same as good behavior in this context. Chaos or chaotic. Chaos is the opposite of law. It is the belief that life is random and that chance and luck rule the world. Laws are made to be broken as long as a person can get away with it. It is not important to keep promises, and lying and telling the truth are both useful. To a chaotic creature, the individual is the most important of all things. Selfishness is the normal way of life, and the group is not important. Chaotics often act on sudden desires and whims. They have strong belief in the power of luck. They cannot always be trusted. Chaotic behavior is usually the same as behavior that could be called evil. Each individual player must decide if his chaotic character is closer to a mean, selfish, evil personality or merely a happy-go-lucky, unpredictable personality. So it's not hard and fast. It's also similar. So when it's on the evil side, it's closer to Michael Moorcock's version of law, chaos, and neutrality in Stormbringer and the Eternal Champion series, if any of you are familiar with that. Neutrality or neutral. Neutrality is the belief that the world is a balance between law and chaos. It is important that neither side get too much power and upset this balance. The individual is important, but so is the group. The two sides must work together. A neutral character is most interested in personal survival. Such characters believe in their own wits and abilities rather than luck. They tend to return the treatment they receive from others. Neutral characters will join a party if they think it is in their own best interest, but will not be overly helpful unless there is some sort of profit in it. Neutral behavior may be considered good or evil, or neither, depending upon how you play it. So you can see it's a lot less restrictive than lawful good and chaotic evil, which are much more defined in AD&D and such.
Chaotic good, though.
But you can say chaotic, and then you can basically say, in quotes, good. That defines how you want to play your character. As opposed to you could be chaotic and, quotes, evil. Which is why, again, in Advanced D&D, they went ahead and created the 9 directions and such of alignment.
Yeah.
So an alignment is a code of behavior or way of life which guides the actions and thoughts of characters and monsters. Players may choose the alignment they feel will best fit their characters. A player does not have to tell other players what alignment they picked, but must tell the Dungeon Master. Most lawful characters will reveal their alignments if asked. When picking alignments, the characters should know that chaotics cannot be trusted even by other chaotics. The chaotic character does not work well with other PCs generally in this variation. By the way, certain magics will just automatically lump chaotics together as evil, just so you know. Alignments give characters guidelines to live by. They are not absolute rules. Characters will try to follow their alignment guidelines, but may not always be successful. To better understand the philosophies behind them, let's define 3 alignments, and we just went through that. So you got that? Okay. For the sake of our audience, go ahead and reveal, if you don't mind, what alignment you went with.
Chaotic ugly.
I am going to be neutral.
Okay.
Chaotic.
Okay.
I'm going to be lawful.
Okay. All right. So next is select name, personality, and background. So go ahead and pick a name, whatever you like. Would you guys like to use Gygax's Book of Names?
I already have one. Got my name.
Okay.
I'm going to use
Because he has some awesome names.
I'm going to recycle the name.
Okay. Because I do have the full tome of Gygax's Book of Names. It's awesome.
Big names online.
Have you seen his tome, though, of names?
No, I haven't. I would like to get it done. That was useful.
It's right next to Boot Hill there if you want to let him see it. Especially check out the fantasy names, because he picks it for each culture. Yeah, but especially check out his fantastical names. They are just, he just, oh my goodness, he loved playing with names.
Oh.
As you saw in his modules and stuff.
Oh, sure, yeah. I
That
love
was a
that
hoot.
too.
Yeah, that is a
Speaking
fun
of a
book.
hoot,
Yes.
my first name is Albie, and my last name is Underfoot.
Of course we do. And you're a half one?
You know,
course.
Katie's cat did die. He got run over.
Oh no!
Which we gave to a cousin. But they had a number of good years with the son, and Shadow Underfoot was her kitten. But because she was out of town a lot, we had to give it to my cousin. And they had a great number of years, but she got run over, unfortunately. So she lived up to her name to the very end. She really was Underfoot all the time.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be Underfoot.
So personality. Alignment isn't all there is to a character's personality. You should think about your character, about their mannerisms, the way you speak. Remember, we like voicing and such. The way you dress, how you spend money, what sort of people you like, how you like to spend your non-adventuring time, and so on. The more attention you invest in imagining your character with all their traits, virtues, and vices, the more interesting and real you will make them. Sure, it's useful for your character to be the mightiest warrior in the world, but none of the other player characters will care whether you live or die unless you have a personality. That was another interesting dialogue I saw you have on Twitter, where those people thought it didn't matter to create a background for a character, that you didn't need to define any of your character's personality or background. I'm like, what game are these people playing? They're playing video games.
For excuses.
They're playing video games.
Modify their behavior to the situation.
To do whatever they wanted to
because it's
do.
convenient.
Right.
Situational.
Yeah, moral relativism and video games, where you don't create
you're
any of
not,
that.
I mean, you're not playing.
Yeah.
You're not role playing at that
Yeah.
point. You're just,
It was very interesting to see. I was like, wow. And have you seen everybody's response to 2 T's versus 1 T? It's like, well, it's just the way it is now, so just deal with it. And I like saying it that way. And yeah, your way makes more sense, but that doesn't matter. Somebody called it a parlor game that is irrelevant.
Well, it's kind of like how Xerox wants people to put TM by Xerox, but nobody does. And
Yeah,
everybody says it as a
mimeograph
verb.
photocopy versus Xerox versus Choose Your Own Adventure, whatever. Except Choose Your Own Adventure does sue.
Well,
Dungeons and Dragons does sue.
but that's
So,
yeah.
And it is different in that there isn't somebody regulating it, although, Anyway, we're just trying to get some consistency and a little bit of sensibility, but it's extra effort, too.
Hey, Hawk, you can't work with sensibility and talk about social media.
Anything where you can hide behind a keyboard.
But you would think in this lazy day and age that dropping a syllable and having to type one less letter, people would be for that.
Okay, see, you're trying for logic.
I know. It's bizarre.
Bad strategy.
All right. So personality stuff you guys are writing down? He's already drawing. Did you write down
I was
personality
drawing
stuff?
too.
All
I
right.
don't have a place for
Background.
personality.
At some point, you'll need to decide on your character's background, where and when you were born, how you were reared, who your family is, who your friends were, and what you did up until the day you entered play. This isn't a solo effort. It's a cooperative effort between you and the DM. The DM knows more about the campaign world than you do. Well, not right now. You know more about your character than the GM does. The two of you have to work together to integrate your character into this world. This means that the DM may recommend or even insist on some changes to your character background in order to make them fit better into the campaign world. You should normally accept any recommendations that don't seriously interfere with your concept of your character and should negotiate on the ones which do. For example, you may have decided that your character's family lived in a small fishing village in a small distant island far, far away. Your DM may prefer that they lived in a small fishing village on the coast of the main continent, not quite so isolated. This probably won't alter your character's personality and personal history, and will allow your DM to fit your characters more easily into the campaign, so this is the sort of change you can acquiesce to without any worries. But let's say your DM wants to establish something else about your character. That when you were 10, a werewolf with a distinctive red and silver coat burst in through the door of the family hut and killed all the family except your character, and that your character was raised by the family of your mother's brother. It's obvious here that your DM is setting you up for some future encounter with that self-same werewolf. Perhaps it will be far in the future, or perhaps the hunt for that monster will be used as the event which will bring all the player characters together in the first place. Whichever, the DM is not trying to kill your character's family for frivolous reasons, but for reasons related to plot. However, you've been imagining that your character is emotionally strong and unscarred, and still has a good relationship with the parents and siblings, and the DM's changes would seriously affect your concept of your character. You explain this to them, and this is where negotiations enter the picture. So, and then it gives examples of a little bit back and forth and such. So, I like that it kind of spells that out. I mean, it really does spell it out nicely. I don't even know which campaign world we're even going to be in at this point. There's 2 in the book at least, so because we're going to jump into the solo adventure, or not the solo adventure, the demo adventure anyway. And then I'll ask you guys which of the B modules you want to do down the road. Determine character height and
Silver
weight.
Princess.
What?
Silver Princess.
Possibly. That was one of the ones I was going to list.
Did we get to saving throws? No, wait.
Ability scores, character line, personality, character height and weight's next.
Okay.
I think saving throws are the same for everybody, so it's just stuff that you'll be writing down. So,
Wait, do we
you
ever-
can choose, it's on page 12, you can choose from the chart for your race whatever height and weight combination you want that's listed in those ranges.
It's funny that they don't have any of that stuff here.
Oh, elves were
It's
short
probably
at
part of your
first.
description.
What is that? But there's not a spot for description either.
Well, in the more advanced version, there's more
One
slots,
coin?
but they're
Right,
trying to keep it
okay.
simple.
I think there's
It's all under
Yeah,
other notes. It'd all be under other notes. Places explored, people, monsters met.
I didn't realize most modern ones even have elves being tall. They're actually pretty short.
Yeah, D&D elves were always short. They've gotten taller in newer editions,
I
but
don't
not by a ton.
speak.
Well, not
It's Tolkien's elves that were tall.
yeah. In 5e, it's still about the same.
What is this,
Okay.
CN?
Coin. You weigh that many coins.
Yeah, I think it's 10
1/10
coins
of a
per pound. Yeah, it's 10. Remember how they always use coins for weight, for encumbrance?
Right.
They're just being consistent that way. So it says 2,000 coins actually weighs 200 pounds right there.
So just
You just drop a
zero
zero.
off 20
Yep,
pounds.
exactly. But instead of saying pounds, you would say, how much do you weigh? 200 coin.
20 pounds?
I say none of your business.
If you're a halfling.
Let's just ask these questions like that.
Halflings still
Okay,
at
fine,
least
never mind. 580 coin. You happy?
58 pounds.
For that size,
For a
210.
full-grown adult?
For 210 for a full-grown adult.
Well, hobbits,
58 pounds.
halflings. They were originally hobbits in the original version, and then they had to change it. And
I'm
so then
not
after
half
that,
the
Gygax.
size.
So then after that, Gygax was always really negative about Tolkien. That was very funny. He may have been before, but it's the first thing came about it. All right, and then earn experience, which we'll get to, but you're not doing that yet. So, did anybody have a plus or minus in Constitution?
This big.
No, that's 2 feet.
Did your Constitution
Plus
have an
one
adjustment
Constitution.
of plus or minus anything?
I have plus.
That is added or subtracted to your hit points.
Sweet.
So Danielle,
what?
if you had a -1 on your hit points, you're unconscious. You were born unconscious. What's your con?
She does have
Con?
-1.
What's your con?
It is.
-1. So you were born in a coma and have never lived. Reroll your hit points. I will go ahead and let you reroll once.
It's another one.
It's a D6, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
I'll let you reroll.
2.
It's a 2.
No, she has 1.
So you have 1. At least
have
you
1
have
point.
1. You just leave it the same. So you'll understand if your character dies quickly. Just be very careful. How's your wits? How's your intelligence?
Oh, I'm really smart.
What is it?
It's a 0. And the
You can't have a
adjustment-
0.
11.
It's 11.
Not the adjustment, the stat. Yeah.
Oh, it's 11.
Okay, when I ask your stat, I'm asking
Oh.
for your stat. When I
That's
ask your
your
adjustment,
Okay,
I'm
that's
asking
my
your adjustment.
highest one. So I have no positives.
All right. Well, as the book said, you never know how these things will turn out, though.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
I have one
I've
positive.
had
But you know
severely
how I
gifted
roll.
characters do well. I know. You know how I roll.
It's either
And that's why ROLE playing is that's why you avoid having to roll the dice as much as possible to stay alive.
That's a classic.
If
yeah.
you roll the bones, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Basically, I'm a faraway fighter who wants to fight really bad, but is not very good at it.
Yep. And who knows what next level will bring you. You just never know. Maybe you start out weakling like Raistlin and end up like Caramon. If that means anything to you, if you ever know Dragonlance at all. Oh, jeez. You should at least watch the cartoon.
Raceland
There was
became
a
a
cartoon
god.
movie,
I mean,
which
right.
had what's his name from 24 as Raistlin.
I know lots of things.
The
like
main guy
this.
from 24, Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland. He is the voice of Raistlin in Dragonlance, the movie.
Is it Lucy Lawless in that?
Oh,
as
really?
well?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I need to rewatch it again. It's been a while. I
My
have it here.
cousins.
If you guys want a quick primer on the Dragonlance setting, that's one way to do it. It's not the best quality cartoon, but that is a campaign I love. I really love Dragonlance. That was a lot of fun. 14 modules long in first edition. It's a little railroady, but it's quite epic. And you start mid-level. You don't start first level. You start like third or fifth level and stuff. All right, now, basically at this point, do your equipment.
We never got some.
Oh, saving throws. I'm sorry. I accidentally skipped over. Saving throws. Find your character's class and experience level and saving throws tables in Chapter 8.
No.
So,
Oh,
What
this is-
page?
Here's primary.
well,
was-
let me go look
That's
up.
for extra experience points.
Saving throws.
I'm not a guess.
That's
See if I
combat.
can't-
So
It's not
you
chapter.
can, if your prime requisite is below a certain level, you lose experience points.
Yes.
So that's why they don't have a. You have to fit this minimum.
You just have consequences.
Yeah.
Consequences.
Wow.
You still can be what you want to be. It may not be the best choice, but you can try. You can
That's
struggle.
some role playing right there.
You bet.
It's like
I don't see saving throw in Chapter 8. I see combat. Oh, that.
in Lady Hawk.
Mouse.
Matthew Broderick's character is like the worst thief
Philippe
ever.
the Mouse, yes. Well, except he was a darn good contortionist. Through the sewers and
He
stuff.
was good at escaping.
He was Wrigley. He was dexterous and Wrigley.
102. Initiative, individual initiative, morale.
I don't see saving
check
throw.
morale.
I don't have any more.
Uh,
Saving throw table all characters, page 109.
Oh, 9?
109.
There you go.
Oh, you had to go to the.
Class, character,
Okay.
character class.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Where did you find it listed?
I didn't find this. I just saw it on the chart.
I just
109.
Oh, because it's not in the table of contents.
Nope. It says monster
Interesting.
saving throws.
So I'm guessing
Character
we start
saving
level-
throws.
109.
I can
Level
pass every
one.
saving throw I don't roll.
What does this number mean?
That's a glitch in
That's
there.
your level.
Oh, so we're in the top.
Are we level 1, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Everybody's level 1.
12, 13,
Well, it's only because I can't make us level 0.
16. Or can he?
Oh,
Sure
that,
you can. Sure you can. There's optional rules for level 0.
Advanced D&D has a beautiful
Oh,
it was N1
cool.
treasure hunt,
Zero now.
beautiful
Yep.
zero level.
Yep.
Why can't we do that in 5th edition?
Yeah, why not?
I want to. I want
Yeah.
to so badly.
I've got so many things that I ask why they don't do this in 5th
Okay,
edition.
where's the
Yeah. Well, they were trying to slim it down and make it simpler. But,
Yeah, and leave out key information.
Yep. Okay.
equipment?
Like,
There's a lot of things I like about 5th edition.
Yeah.
Compared to 3rd and 4th, I really like 5th compared to those two.
Congratulations, this book retails for $50. And all we're going to tell you about random monsters encounters is
But at
make
least
your
they're
own
not.
table.
But at least they're not booking us like they kept their word about not splat booking us the way they did with 3rd edition. They've got supplements, but they're not splat booking. They're doing campaign content.
So
adventures.
the Wilderness Encounter supplement that's coming out, that they could have put that in the DM's guide. They're not doing extra supplements, really.
No, it's not. They're not doing supplements. They're not doing splat books. They were cranking out like 1 or 2 splat books a month.
I don't remember a Wilderness
With 3rd
supplement
edition.
for 5th edition
Yeah, I
coming out.
probably know what my class
I've seen rumors that it's
Well,
gonna be coming out.
there's a bunch of third-party companies making supplements,
yeah, because
and they are
the original
officially
company,
branded, but they're not actually WotC. So you got to watch those carefully. There's a whole bunch of
Wow.
supplements out there from third-party companies
This-
that
Look at
WotC
this
says we're not
straight
going to
line.
do, and it's your choice whether you want to buy them or not.
Right
It's a
I
very
gotta
different
say-
model.
That's a real straight line.
original DM's guide had 15 pages to deal with random encounters.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Month.
In 5th
Well, not the
edition-
original.
In
First
5th
edition.
edition, you get 2 paragraphs telling you how to make your own
Fair
chart.
enough.
Yeah.
That's a real straight line.
Oh,
But
no
hey,
armor.
we're going to help new DMs. No, you're actually not.
Well, okay.
'Cause you're not teaching them anything.
That's why we are
Oh.
looking at other versions here to see what people are missing
25.
or not missing. All right.
Okay, I definitely-
So now you got all your saving throws in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next is equipment.
Are the
Yeah,
saving
well, I'm
throws
trying to figure
adjusted
out-
by any of your traits?
What are my special restrictions?
Find them. Number shown. Blah 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 blah. Represents. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah.
Purple.
Saving throws based on your character's class and experience level. No stat modifiers.
Okay, I just need to figure out what the heck I should be choosing.
Oh, take it back. If you have a high
Okay,
wisdom,
armor, I can have any more.
Not me.
if you have a wisdom score of 13 or more,
Yeah.
you gain a bonus to one of your saving throws. If your
so it's
wisdom is
negative.
8 or less, you receive a penalty.
Oh, dang.
So, and then that's you use the bonuses and penalties
Oh,
chart
okay.
back on page 9
fine.
for that.
Okay, I have a -1 on my wisdom. Which one gets affected?
Um,
Let's add them.
Well,
I feel like spells happen often, right?
it's saving throw versus spells.
Spell
You add that modifier, whether it's plus or minus.
Okay.
So if it was a 12, it becomes a 13.
I'm taking a short bow because I can't afford anything
Okay,
else.
so no armor.
Yeah, saving throw, you want to roll that number or higher on a d20 to succeed.
Don't we have to know what limitations we have? Like, thief is not allowed to wear
Yeah, that's
plate
what I
mail?
had just looked at. You just have to go to your class. It is
Okay,
important.
so
I
I'll
can't
wait
wear
for you,
armor.
then
I'm
I'll
not
come
gonna
What's
wear
the
armor.
class thing? Because I probably
Makes a little
need to
bit
read
of
that
sense.
too.
So where'd you find the classes around?
Well, there's a short summary on 7, or you can go to the longer version on 13.
13.
Go forward.
Okay, are you on that one? No.
I'm the last one. So you get yours done first.
Well, no, I just figured that we could roll.
Yeah, so this is the longest part of character generation is like figuring out your equipment.
I'm looking at that.
Because we're already done with the character generation other than equipment.
Okay.
That wasn't so bad, was it?
So no edge weapons.
And we were doing a lot of tangents.
Where's the elf?
I hit people with a torch.
They're later. They're after the human classes.
Okay, so cool. I know what I
Remember they do elf, thief, halfling later. It's after dwarf. Dwarf is page 23. Elf is 25. Halfling is 27.
25. Okay, here you go.
Yep.
If you can, yours is on that one,
If
right?
you see my stats, you see why.
Yep.
You're on that one, right?
That's the problem.
One.
What are you trying to figure out?
You can do this. We
Oh,
both look at the same time.
TVL, SVL.
Right.
So
No, I can't.
What's
are you
wrong?
on this side or are
You
you
don't
on this
know
side? I
what
thought you were.
the notes to the right of the
You are-
weapons.
you're
I
on
know
both.
I'm trying.
What? Where?
You're on both
What
sides.
page?
62.
62.
here you go.
No, never mind, we found it.
On 63, the notes are explained.
Maybe set.
Funny that.
charge. I don't know why. Why would I look
Sorry,
that
I'm
way?
used to books not having the information we need lately.
Yes.
So,
Well, we're back old school here for a reason.
so this weapon has special features. Read the weapon description.
There will be strengths and weaknesses to this as well.
Half damage from
I can use
dragon's
any
arrow.
armor.
So is there a sling in
and
this
the
version?
shield is permitted.
Well, as you
Oh,
will
I found
come
it.
across a lot of other stuff too. That is, as
1 in
well.
3
Any
chance to
small
direct
melee weapon.
There's an entire book of
Oh,
equipment.
No, it's kind of the one.
There's an entire add-on book of
immunity
equipment.
to ghouls, paralysis, and
You get
magic
1d2.
spells. Cool.
It's a whip. It doesn't do much damage, but it does have the special feature of you can
Okay.
wrap people up with it. So
Are you good?
it's kind of
Where
cool.
there's a whip. There's a
Um,
way.
Did you see that the weapon special effects table?
The net does not know.
It's like a.
Burning
got-
coil.
It's got like 3 chords, and each of them are weighted, and you kind of go like this and
Oh,
throw it.
right, got you.
So you guys are talking about the special weapons effects table,
Other.
Ammunition.
the weapon special effects table on
Yeah.
page 63, second
Sure.
column.
Oh, that.
You got bola, net, blackjack, whip, or blowgun.
20.
And sling.
5. Okay.
Okay. I still need to figure out what the heck I want to choose.
Yeah, that was sling's the one below that.
It's a full arm.
Polearm is basically a weapon on a pole.
Okay.
So
but what's the difference
spears,
between-
halberds.
Well, no, full arm is a
I'm
specific
ready to
weapon.
move on.
Yes.
You are too.
Generally, they're the
Fine.
longer ones.
Or onto a different page.
So if you look at weapon descriptions on the next page,
Can I choose
you
something
can
that's
look
not-
at
looks the-
polearm,
same
Probably
thing
that
as
way.
the-
'Cause this is-
and polearms say polearms consist of various weapon blades mounted on long poles, used only by fighters, dwarves, elves, and mystics.
Sweet.
Because of the length, the character with a polearm may attack a foe even when there is another friend or foe between them. Often, polearm wielders stand in the second rank of the combat, striking over the heads of their frontline comrades to hit frontline fighters of the enemy force.
I pretty much have nothing.
They may be used with fighter combat options, and by the way, that's more advanced rules. Polearm user attack rolls a -3 for each of the following. The user's a dwarf, the wielder's attacking from behind a larger ally. Anyway, there's modifiers.
Can I choose,
And then there's weapons mastery down the road, too.
Can I choose a weapon that's very similar to something in here that's just slightly different?
What?
So it's basically like a halberd, except instead of an axe, it's a hammer at the end of it. It's still like the same length. It's called a lucerne hammer.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Lucerne's in, maybe not this, but Lucerne's well known.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if there's any note about halflings. Because I know that I have to, my armor has to fit me, but it doesn't change the price.
D10. And I lose 7 coins.
Would that be in here?
Maybe, I don't know.
Encumbrance 50.
Did you see the long list of polearm options, though?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
that's come. I was wondering because there's.
But you wanted a blunt one
Well,
instead?
no. Just polearm is a weapon in the pole weapons category.
Right.
That's why I was.
Well, and then it had the sub of what all those choices were. But they're all bladed.
That might be a DM question.
What? That's what I'm here for.
He's wondering if there is a modification to the price for children's armor.
Children's armor? It is assumed that the prices are all the same for starting out because the special modifications, even though it's less material, kind of all balance out.
I can wear a gauntlet as a full suit of armor.
It doesn't, but it has to be made to fit you.
I'm 2'10".
It still has to be made to fit you, and your size would be less common generally. I mean, unless you came from a halfling village, but many of those don't wear armor, etc., etc., etc. We come up with all sorts of excuses. For the sake of it being basic D&D, just go with what's in the book. You don't need it to be modified. When we role play in the adventures, you will run into all kinds of variations. But they're just trying to make it quick and easy for you to get started.
Armor? Under normal items?
Yeah, that's kind of where I've been putting it. Adventuring gear.
You see why I do equipment at the end.
Old laugh.
Because character generation is actually quite quick. Now that we've done it once, think how fast you can make character now.
Do you assume that we have clothes on?
We need to buy common clothes.
Let me
just
see
wanna
about
walk
starting
around
equipment. Well, I might have to buy one
If you're
set of
wearing
clothes.
armor, then you don't have to wear clothes.
Oh,
If I can wear
ouch.
armor.
Ouch.
That's what I'm
ouch.
kind of wondering.
Ooh,
because
that's going to pinch.
Once I bought
Why do you think I'm
A
so
bow.
grumpy?
Once I bought a ranged weapon, the
You could be ugly and
ammunition,
cheerful.
and a little bit of armor, so that way
Not
I
with a
don't
charisma
die.
of 5, I can't.
You can be cheerful and have a horrible
I have
charisma.
10 left over.
I'm so
I
happy
know.
to meet you.
How about Shouter Guy from Loud Talker from Dilbert? I don't know why everybody's always upset with me. I'm always happy about stuff. And he annoys everybody. There's lots of ways to have bad charisma without being grouchy.
Oh my
Grouchy's
God.
a mood, not charisma.
That's amazing.
Some people like really grouchy people, think they have great charisma even though they're grouches.
I like grouchy people
So,
because they always
Get off
tell
my
you.
lawn.
These are all tropes that you want to think beyond. You were asking about starting equipment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything we were given to start with?
That's what I got to figure out with this version.
The 70 gold piece is not going to go far.
Well, it's not supposed to. You're supposed to start broke.
Yeah.
That's why you're adventuring, because you're
Well, I was
broke.
gonna be like.
Start with 62. You guys, all three of you start with 62.
Go ahead and pick other stuff while I look for basics, but leave money for basics in case. I'm
Well,
looking to see if you get. So in some editions you get like basic stuff, but not all editions do that. So I'm looking right now.
Okay, a tinderbox is 3.
But don't wait for me while you look at other stuff that you know you're going to get.
Torches are 1 for 6 torches.
How do we calculate encumbrance so we don't overload ourselves?
It gives you the coin weight, doesn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
how much can we carry?
That is probably specified. There's probably an encumbrance based on your strength
That makes
listing.
sense. I'd like to know.
Oh,
that.
crap.
There's probably a section that says encumbrance. Probably under movement and encumbrance. Let's see, does this have an index?
What about
I think this has an index. It does have an index. All right, encumbrance is pages 63 and 88 for encumbrance.
I wanna look-
Encumbrance is 63 and 88.
63, that is not.
Equipment factor, epic hero.
Oh,
Let's see about starting.
So that describes encumbrance, but 88 doesn't. Probably tells us what we actually need.
Well, it says effects on movement is 88, so.
Encumbrance. Here we go. 0 to 400 is normal speed.
Oh, so it's the same for all of us?
Yeah, everything's really simple here. There isn't a lot of over time is how your differentiation is. You all start out fairly simple, similar.
Okay.
So if you don't go over 400, you won't be slowed down.
It's modified by strength, right?
I didn't see it.
Okay. Well, we
Well,
might
660.
find something that changes that.
Okay. A quiver. Okay. Sorry. I'm gonna write this down.
Okay, 8, 62, 74.
And that's all I could buy if I have to buy clothes.
Okay, now you have money to the left. Complete this quiz chapter 4. Be sure to ask your dungeon master. Alright.
The other encumbrance thing we're looking at.
Should read the full description of your character. It says make sure you read the full description of your character class. So you make sure you're not picking stuff you can't use between weapons and armor. And thieves need to buy thieves' tools to be able to use their open locks ability. So write down all the equipment you want and then add up what you can get. That's reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be careful when shopping. You may forget to buy rope, for example, and suddenly find a need for it.
Okay, it's not in the weapons.
Yeah, we haven't even.
It does not look like you get anything. That money is what you start with your shirt on your back.
Oh, so we do have clothes.
No, you have to buy. Does it not have clothes listed in the equipment?
It's
One set of clothes. You got to buy a set of clothes
Okay.
because the money is representing what you're starting with. It's not just cash, but just what you start with. That's your relative wealth.
5 silver pieces. Oh crap. Is it 10 for the silver to gold?
Coin conversion is 1 silver equals 10 copper. So it's 1 gold equals 2 electron. There's 20 silver per gold.
20 silver per gold.
Think of them as nickels.
Okay, so
A gold piece is $1.
God.
Electrum is 50-cent piece. Platinum's a $5 bill. There's 10 copper
well, I'm not over 100
for
yet.
silver.
Okay,
So
so
I could do it, but doesn't give me a lot of room.
Yeah. This is the slowest part of the whole character generation of any game system. No matter what you do, if you're going to have any equipment, except Firefly, which has no equipment, because they just use dice pools to grab whatever you want, which players have not liked.
Short cloak, long cloak. What's the
I don't know. Can I see in the dark? Is that how I have them?
Yeah, here, you look at that.
Finishers? Then I'll
I'm
look.
gonna do
Otherwise,
5.
You need a here. Go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay.
Just where? Yeah.
Okay, silver for a backpack. Oh no, it's gold.
69.
Silver with a belt. Oh, I'll definitely do that.
Extravagant. Yeah, I'm gonna buy extravagant clothes. 'Cause that's my last one.
Oh shoot! It's cheaper to buy torches one at a time than it is to.
I have 6 coins left. That's a terrible idea to buy extravagant clothes. So let's just check that out. Triple after falling.
Okay.
Copy it so I can mark it up.
10-foot long pole? Heck yeah, it is.
And one of the points that we're making is I'm not prepping on the adventure as far as pre-reading. We're going to go through it straight out of the book. Because it's meant to be an introduction for somebody who's never GM'd before. We're going to show you how that actually kind of works. It's not perfect, but it works pretty darn well compared to anything else out there.
Okay. I don't need to buy food,
Oh my god.
The good news is the adventure usually starts you pretty close to a town.
But I don't have the money for the food at the town.
Right, the hope is when you go adventuring, you will find money, come back to town, and spend your riches.
Gotcha, but will I be able to survive long enough to get those?
Well, that's the risk of the life of an adventurer.
Well, no, that's the risk of me spending a third of my money on just clothes.
Yeah, well, that's life.
I know. I think I should have.
You just wear a loincloth.
No, I'm not doing that.
I'm wearing plain clothes.
I'm wearing
and that's a
extravagant.
tunic, pants and a blouse.
And it's 50 plus gold for these.
You intentionally buy extravagant clothes when you're
Well,
broke.
that's because it's my. I'm not broke. I have twice
Oh.
as much money as all of them.
Okay.
He's trying to flaunt his wealth.
I am.
Flaunt his non-wealth.
Well, I had a bunch of wealth. Like I got my entire. Like if
Yeah.
I go into my background and stuff.
Cool, cool.
That's how you should buy it.
All right. How you guys doing on equipment? How far along do you think you are so we can get the adventure started soon?
Pretty good.
Getting
Okay.
close.
As I said, we're going to go straight out of the BECMI Introductory Adventure from Frank Mentzer's 1982 Basic D&D.
Wait.
Classic, straightforward, walks you through as though you've never GM'd before, and we're going to share it with the audience. Although, like I will be sharing, you guys will have to deal. You guys, I trust you guys to do your suspension of disbelief thing and player knowledge thing. So we'll be sharing with the audience a lot of what's going on behind the screen.
Holy water. This is 1d8.
Holy
Yeah, holy water is pretty helpful, as John well knows from Heroes of the Mist.
Yes.
Yeah.
I spent all of my money.
The good thing is, I am playing these games as written rather than toning them down the way. I usually make grittier, tougher, less rewarding cash games. We're going to play this as written. Right?
Less
We're only
rewarding, yes.
we're only going to house
Always
rule
better.
if we can't figure something out we need to figure out. We're going to stick to the book. And these adventures tend to be rolling in treasure. By the way, You make a lot more experience points for treasure than you do combat.
Let me know when you're done.
They don't really reward combat much in this game. Killing creatures will make you a little bit of XP. Most of your XP comes from treasure and role playing. Combat's a very super risky way to try to earn XP. It's really not very rewarding. Just so you know.
5 gold pieces left. I might just keep it. Where's Rashes?
I'm confused.
Okay.
One of my halfling abilities is set spear,
Okay.
but I can't use. I have to use small weapons, and a spear is a large weapon. So I have a special ability that requires me to use a weapon I don't have. I can't use.
Has anyone else taken a tinderbox?
I just took one.
Okay, well then I'm not going to take one.
That confuses me too. There must be some stipulation of the
I
type of
must be
spear.
misunderstanding.
There must be a type of spear or something.
In combat, a halfling may use the set spear versus charge maneuver as described in Chapter 8 in our combat maneuvers.
1G.
They are too small to utilize the lance attack, however.
Oh, so you can use a spear in set mode only. Is that what it's saying? That might be what it's saying.
Chapter 8 under combat maneuvers, but
I think it's saying you can use a spear in set, set it, and that's the only way you can use it because it's too big for you to wield otherwise. But you can dig it in, so if somebody's charging, you can be helpful for that.
Okay. I think I've got everything I need. I just need to re-add to make sure I'm right. 5, 6.5, 7.5.
spear, pike, sword, shield, or lance.
Is that right? 5, 5, 6,
With sword
7,
shield, so I can set
7.
against charge with a sword.
So it'd have
Hmm?
2 gold pieces left. Is there anything I really need for 2 gold pieces?
Well, you can save them.
I know. Oh, water skin.
Yeah, that is pretty useful.
I have 1 gold piece.
Buy rope.
I already have it.
You could buy wine. Or torches.
A character
I
on
bought
foot
torches.
and carrying a spear, spike, sword, shield, or lance
Is there more stuff?
can set the weapon versus a charge. Is
By
sword,
bow?
shield, sword, and shield,
Not
or is there a special weapon called a sword shield?
Siege weapons. Ooh.
I don't know. Look at their
Oh, I can
equipment.
actually buy bow stuff.
Oh, we need a balance. We need to try that.
Yeah, I don't have enough anymore, but I could have bought.
Shield, sword. It's a shield weapon.
I can also buy battering ram.
Shield knife. Shield weapons. I've never heard of shield.
Okay.
knife.
Yeah.
What the heck does that mean?
You should buy a
Oh, that's. I think it's because I can't read it. It's so fuzzy.
Wow. Wait, I don't have enough.
It's fuzzy?
90,
Yeah, they're fuzzy. It looks like a copy of a copy.
100.
My
Oh, it's
brain
200
is
gold pieces.
having a hard
Oh
time.
my
Oh,
god.
that's bad.
The entire, every 3 pages.
That is
as bad as-
it's because they scanned it. I thought I guess it makes sense. Because that one's okay to read, right?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, because that's an original. Are they both like that? The hard copy and the soft copy,
No,
or
the
just the
hard
soft
copy
copy?
is way better. It's just a soft
So it's
copy.
just a bad. That's just a bad print.
It's a really bad one.
I wish I'd known. I would have sent it back. I've had them a long time though. So it's
and
probably
my
just
favorite
that
is
particular
I
one. So
held
it's
up a
actually more the
table.
printer probably than the scan.
I held up a table a little bit ago,
So-
and it was like,
Okay.
oh, here's the epitome of how bad it is.
Okay. Can you post it? Because I'm going to see if I can get that book replaced. Why? I'm sorry for doing that to you.
That's fine.
I didn't know. What's that, Shane?
I was just gonna ask if I have everything, can I loan my starting money to somebody else?
Nope, because you haven't met each other yet.
Oh, wow.
Old school. Okay, cool. And what else do I need?
Oh, I needed to add up my weight now. Okay, bow. 20.
I have 8 coins left. I'm wearing my sharpie clothes, and you guys can't stop me.
If I worn or not. If you're wearing it closed, it doesn't make an encumbrance.
What's your plain clothes? 5 silver pieces?
So
Well,
I have a belt. Not that one. Oh shoot! I don't have boots. That's where my last dollar is going.
I don't need them.
Gold for that.
The good thing is we jump into adventure very quickly.
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, it's well within the hike of a town to buy stuff and stuff.
Okay, so I have clothes, I have boots, I have a belt. I have armor. I have a weapon. Okay, now everything else past that I can work with. Oh shoot, I don't have a lantern. Oh no, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford that.
Hold on to the cloak of others.
Arrows or coral.
Vampires, yeah.
It is up to 10 feet and 4 encumbrance. Gold. Okay, 10. I'm just gonna put 10 because I bought arrows.
I'm gonna have to reduce my weapons.
Standard.
Reduce my armor.
200.
Okay.
Rope.
We have 1 hour.
50.
Yep. And again, a lot of that was other stuff. So you can see it was actually, as far as the actual character creation before you got to equipment, it was very short, wasn't it?
Oh, I could
And that
have
was the
done
first
that
time. Now
with
think
it.
how you can make a character now in 15 minutes without equipment. And if you just, now that you have a better idea of equipment, you can probably make that very quickly too.
20 times 5. 60. No.
Or is 100?
Yeah. Oh, my brain is not sitting in a good thing right now. Water skin.
Is anyone not using the book? Okay.
Rope. Pouch belt. I'm just getting my encumbrance.
That's for encumbrance, right?
Yeah.
You only have 10 coins left before you will start being slowed down.
Oh well.
I just need to make sure that when I'm wearing my armor that it doesn't.
Oh, your armor is going to blow it out of the water.
Yeah.
Oh well.
What is DET? Druids can use this type of water. Yeah. Nope. I'm out of the water.
Yep,
Oh,
armor
well.
does that.
That's
75
fine.
gold pieces for a rainy day.
What is this?
Go ahead.
Sweet. Okay, look at Mystic.
Okay,
See
I'm
what
done.
my class is. Isn't that useful?
Okay.
Knowing what the heck you're doing. 29.
Yes, okay.
Okay. I need 2,000 XP to the next one. That's a lot.
I have no gold left. I went to 0. I'm gonna be the poorest of the poor.
30.
So what do you need that you don't have?
Me?
Yeah.
I think I can make it.
Okay.
I have a short bow with 20 arrows, leather armor, rations for a week, rope, torch, clothes, shoes, a pouch belt, water skin. I think I'm okay.
AC is 9. That's probably not good, is it?
Yeah, lower is better.
What's
You
everyone
know,
else's AC?
As you adventure, you'll hopefully improve things. Your dex will help improve that if you have any dex modifiers.
I do have +1.
So that means you can, well, that will improve your armor class by 1.
Okay, that makes sense. So it goes down to 8.
Yeah. It's just if we go somewhere, I won't be able to house myself or.
Where do we put the...
Oh crap! You have to buy a bedroll?
A what?
Well, you know what? Maybe you can't afford one.
Wait, a what?
A bedroll?
Use leaves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna sleep, meditate.
That's why you're adventuring. You're trying to improve your station from a lowly, starving peasant. Why is that zoomed in?
It does not have a bedroll.
Forgot to write down what's encumbrance on rations.
Oh, how much can my pouches?
Rat wall iron or
50
The
cm.
regular. For the regular.
no, that one's a lot more I know.
'Cause I couldn't afford
Iron. It is. I forget what the boats. The regular ration standard is 200 encumbrance. It's really high.
I'm very
Food weighs a lot.
But only the unpreserved.
So can I just get 5 days worth?
You can get as little as you want.
I want to have something.
Oh,
But
crap.
after
I've got nothing to put. Oh, that is not going to work.
Let's see, short bow, 25. 20 arrows, that's 5, that's 30. So chainmail, that was 40. I am now officially broke with 3 items per.
Excellent. You'll be well motivated.
I'm going to do a small stack.
I am not artificially mandating heroic play for the sake of just this particular play.
Yay.
Play the game the way it is written.
Chaotic evil, here we go.
Well, no, you're not chaotic evil. You're chaotic.
Evil.
That's up to you. Realize what usually happens with evil groups or evil individuals.
Well, no, I'm the only evil person.
Uh-huh.
And no one knows that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay.
Secret.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Instead of boots, I'm going to do
That's
shoes.
fine. We'll see what happens.
And I'm going to do shoes, and I'm going to do one less torch, but I remember right. Shoes are 5. No, I'm going to do a lot more less torches. I'm going to do...
Is there a
Oh, I
lump
don't
there?
need that. So
What?
A lump.
without this.
Post it.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
So you want us to get miniatures?
Yes. Pick out some
Well,
minis.
Okay, so
Elf girl.
what is everybody playing?
Monk guy.
Mystic. Monk.
He's basically a monk.
Monkey mystic.
But
Mystic.
it's a mystic. Oh my gosh.
Okay, monk.
It's a lot. I have to look at other classes to see what they have. 'Cause they have seafood
I've got a cleric, so.
I'm going with the old-fashioned metal minis. Where I can.
Really do it.
These numbers mean.
These are the hot guys physically available right here in front of me.
Anything with a bow would actually make it probably the best for me.
I have a long hammer, but I don't think you're going to find a monk with a long hammer.
Well, no, I've got a.
Just any pole arm will do.
I've got a mace if that helps.
87.
I'm looking at Hawk's miniature collection here, which is very small at the moment.
I've got a huge collection elsewhere.
Yes. You want me to go
Downstairs?
elsewhere? Do you want me to go out in the car and get mine?
Just grab whatever. Just let's get playing, and
Yeah,
you can
that's what I figured.
when we continue this another time, you can get more picky.
Okay, so that's what I have.
Okay, so I have a
There's
small
the
belt.
monk.
Small.
We have a cleric
Yes.
and okay, I got monk, cleric, elf. This will be the elf because it has a bow on it. There's 4 of us. Okay, so we got all our characters.
Pack. And that is one.
Okay.
Okay, that works out. Okay,
Alright.
so instead of boots, I have shoes. Which is going to suck somewhere. I'm sure.
I need to look at my
Is that a wall?
No,
That's okay.
Yes.
Remember.
When I read the description, it'll all become clear.
And a small pack.
Because we do have some doors.
Yeah, but they're not big enough. They're only 10 foot. They're not 20 foot.
2 of them is 20.
These are 10-foot squares.
Oh, 10-foot squares?
Yeah, these are 10-foot squares. That's how D&D was. Old school is 10 foot, not 5 foot.
Well, fortunately, I've got small minis. Okay.
Oh, okay, I don't have that
the map above.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that to
I
us.
reset it back, and then it zooms in on its own.
And we couldn't figure out how to set
just
it
to show
back.
you,
All I had to do is open it, and it goes back to normal.
this is the monk,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
mystic, whatever. I'm surprised you have the stats for that. This is the cleric.
Yeah. Pretty good.
This is the elf.
Looks too
I've
robust
got
to be
that.
the elf.
It's got a bow. That's the
Okay.
only indicator. And this is the halfling. This piece of slag. Something small enough to be me.
It's like a quarterling.
What's your guys' AC?
What was I looking at? Small
Oh,
size.
yeah,
200 fast. Okay.
My AC is 5,
Oh my gosh, you guys.
and I have
I
6 hit
haven't
points.
figured out my
So I'm tough.
You're very tough.
But I also remember that
I
every
don't know
monster
how
out there
I'm
can
holding
kill you in
all
one
this.
blow anyways.
Did you get a backpack?
Oh,
I
yeah.
got a small pack, but it's not enough.
Good thing is, it's pretty much the other
Can
way,
I get
too.
half rations? Because it's saying that rations for a week is 5 GP. And I just don't have enough room to.
You can
Okay,
fraction it however you need to.
Okay.
Why isn't it showing the full camera?
I'm gonna do what? 4 days or 3
She
days?
zoomed in another setting.
Geez, 3 days? 3 days is what? 3 days is a little less than half. I'm gonna go with. That's probably.
There's a handful of miniatures.
So I actually have 2.
Let's hurry
Okay.
so we can plan.
I'm ready.
Make some money.
I am playing a character who starts off with
Right now.
Because halflings aren't rogues.
Yeah, what are they? They're their own thing.
They're basically fighters. With some wilderness skills.
Okay. Oh, that's right. They're closer to rangers, weren't they?
Okay. I think I've got it. I'm in
Outdoors,
comfort.
halflings are difficult to spot. I mean, but
Yeah, they are stealthy outdoors.
If you have a negative bonus in your dex, do you have to increase your AC?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
You had to bring that up, didn't you?
Okay.
I'm done.
Ooh, -2 to armor class attacked by a creature larger than man-sized.
Normal
Yeah.
speed is
You
Plus
are
one
already
bonus
hit
to
when you're
attack rolls
small.
when using a missile weapon.
What level do you get?
counter feet.
Me?
Yeah.
Now. And I get a bonus to
No, I
initiative.
didn't.
Run.
Cleric abilities.
Okay. Okay, so I need to write some sticky notes for you about this book.
You have so many sticky notes.
I do. I have a lot going on today.
So zoomed in.
Oh, apparently I can't cast spells that way. Okay, cool.
I'm just gonna do this. Okay.
That overhead camera is zooming in even in Jitsi. Like super close. It's
Yeah,
like
we were
zoomed
having-
all the way in on the post-it.
We're having trouble with that on Thursday.
On my
But it's
Post-it?
weird. Yeah.
This is
No,
drum
different
circle?
post-it.
Oh.
Maybe it's I don't know what that is. Never mind.
Okay.
Anyway, darn it, I wanted to have an overhead camera thing, but it is being Introductory.
Oh wait, I should probably write on this first.
They can see it on our web,
Wavy
the big picture, even though it's not ideal.
chart.
They'll be able to somewhat
Wavy
follow
chart.
if they make it big enough.
Be gone.
Actually, all of the charts on this page are really wavy.
What?
All of the charts on these 2 pages are really wavy.
Yeah, no, that printing is bad, and I need to contact them, even though it's been a long time, and ask them if they'll replace it with a better copy. I'll show them photos between the two and see if they will honor their
This is probably the
promise.
worst out of focus.
Yeah.
So where do we find our to hit roll needed?
I don't know.
Going into combat,
That's the one thing I can
chapter 8.
All right, I start reading it to you guys. Are you ready to pay attention?
I've been waiting.
Pay attention.
Okay.
Although this is not a hard adventure.
Doesn't mean we're not going to lie.
Oh, I'm probably gonna
So,
die.
reading straight out of the BECMI Dungeon Master's Guide, Basic D&D, 1982, Frank Mentzer. Right out of it. Not prepping. It says pregame checklist, but the nice thing is the way this is done, you don't have to. It helps if you do it, but if that's overwhelming, which it is for some people, you just don't have time, you can jump in. Pregame checklist. Do all the players know how to play? Have they played the solo adventure in the player's manual?
Yes.
Okay. Have you read this book up to this point, talking to the DM? Have you looked through the rest of this booklet? Yeah, I've skimmed through it. Do you and the players know the who, why, what, where, when of the adventure? No, but you will shortly. Are all the characters ready to go, including equipment?
Yes.
Looks like Shane's still doing something.
Well,
I'm looking up to hit rolls.
Okay.
Everything else.
Have the players... Oh, so... There is a little bit of a prereq. I can't remember if it... Have the players chosen a caller and a mapper? Do you have a piece of graph paper and a pencil to map? I love these little, just basic, classic steps we take for granted and other people don't know to do. So here's a piece of graph paper. Who wants to be the caller? Who wants to be the mapper?
Caller.
Man.
Okay. All right.
No work out.
There you go.
Healers.
Okay.
Although actually, I'm not.
So, just start with the there.
All right, caller. What is the party's marching order?
Party's arching order is Mystic and Cleric is in the front. The Elf and I are directly behind. And I am looking for places to...
All right, let me back up a second. So, John, what is your character's name?
My character's name is I'll Be Underfoot.
Spell that.
OWLBY. Underfoot, standard spelling.
Okay. And your class?
Halfling.
And first level. Your alignment? Normally this will be private, but we're sharing with the public here for the sake of learning. And you are a caller. What is? Do you have a shield?
No.
What is? You have any armor?
Chainmail.
Armor class.
5.
And your hit points.
6.
Okay. Primary weapon.
Short bow.
Second weapon.
None.
Oh, no melee at all.
No melee at all. Not until the first thing I kill.
All righty then.
My idea.
Okay, Danielle.
I'm an opportunist.
Amara Lift.
Amara Lift.
Yep. Like Lift is last name.
Okay. And your class?
It is.
Actually, hang on a second. I'm going to stop and start the recording so that people don't have to sit through all the character gen, and then we'll read through them very quickly. We're still streaming. I'm just going to stop and start the recording. Hello and welcome to RPG Research. We are doing an introduction to the classic BECMI, Basic Expert Companion Masters of Mortals, Dungeons & Dragons from 1982 through 1991. We're using the Rules Cyclopedia and then the classic Frank Mentzer Basic Introduction module straight out of it through their first adventure. We just spent the previous section whipping up characters to show how quick and easy it really is compared to other editions of D&D. That went a lot faster, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it would be a couple of sessions potentially for 4 players that have never done the game before.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Now that you've done this once, next time around it'll probably take you 15 minutes, not counting equipment, to make a character, wouldn't you think? And then equipment will probably take you whatever. Less than it is this time around. So half an hour to make a character feel pretty safe?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Even with new people.
Yeah, isn't that nice? All right. So John has decided to be the caller for the group. He is playing a halfling, everybody's first level, chaotic alignment, and named Albie Underfoot. Danielle is playing Amara Lift, who is what class?
An elf.
And of course, everybody's first level right now.
Neutral.
Neutral, okay. And you are the mapper?
Yep.
And you have a shield?
Nope.
Armor?
Is a blue leather.
Armor class?
7.
Hit points?
1.
I'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
You know what fine means, right?
Yeah.
Freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Yeah.
All right, primary
That's
weapon.
exactly how I said it.
Yes,
Too.
primary weapon.
As a bow.
Short, long, composite?
Short.
Anything else? Or do you like John's character with only a short bow?
Only.
All right, Legolas. All
At
right,
least have daggers.
Riley.
Yo,
What's your character's name?
Dorian Yarg.
Dorian
Yarg.
Yarg?
Y-A-R-G.
I love it. All right, your class?
Missed it.
And of course, first level.
Is that great back?
Yes.
It is great back.
Oh, God.
Well, then your first name should have been
You know what?
Narod.
Or Crad.
Yeah. Did you ask another question?
I said or Crad. Your first name should have been Crad.
Brad Yarg?
Yeah. Crad with a K.
Yeah, okay.
Did it work?
Dark gray. Gray dark.
He's more of a light gray.
Not crowed or crod. Crad. Alignment.
Chaotic.
And no roll at this point. Do you have a shield?
No.
Armor.
No.
Armor class.
8.
Hit points.
5.
Primary weapon.
Lucerne.
Lucerne, pole, hammer.
Yeah.
Any other weapons?
Dagger.
All right. Somebody has something else, but he doesn't have a missile weapon, so. All right. And Shane.
I'll just throw them really hard.
Brother Caradoc. C-A-R-A-D-O-C. Cleric.
Cleric. Level 1. And your alignment?
Lawful.
Okay, no roll.
Waffle.
Armor. Sorry, shield.
I do not have a shield.
Armor.
Yes, I have leather armor.
Leather. Armor class.
8, because I'm slow.
Okay. And hit points.
6.
Primary weapon.
Mace.
Anything else? Any other
Sling.
weapons? Sling.
And I did buy 5 silver bullets on the rare chance we come across a werewolf.
Oh, yeah, one of my daggers
Yeah,
is
so those
silver.
have another 10 readings.
Cool.
Silver dagger?
I did
How
buy
much gold did you have?
130. And I also bought.
We should have mugged him, is what we should have done.
Well, he already mugged another adventurer, so he
Yeah,
doubled his.
And I spent 50 gold on just clothes. No, on just my extravagant clothes.
All right. Are you ready to adventure?
Kill.
I like that added background, John.
We are not doing heroic rules enforcement. We are playing the game as is. No house rules. Unless we can't figure it out. Many years ago, this part of the realm of man was ruled by a magic user named Gygar, a man of great and mysterious powers. He ruled the lands from his mighty castle Mistamir, located at the foot of the mountains to the north. Gygar died after a long and peaceful rule, but no successor was named. Over the years, the unclaimed castle fell into ruins. Now, centuries later, the outline of the broken towers can still be seen from the town, ever beckoning to seekers of danger, fame, and fortune. You have gathered around a dinner table in the Gold Dragon Inn. This is worth writing down as a place that you guys know. In the center of town to discuss your plans.
I think our first.
I have more to read. I just had to stop and make a note of something. They didn't give me a town name, so since it's near Mistamir Castle, we're going to call it Miston. Miston. The inn is busy, filled with ruddy-faced townsfolk and other adventurers who are eating, drinking, laughing, and having a splendid time. You have all heard the tales told by others, tales of monsters lurking within the ruins and guarding rich treasures. None of you have been there, but after an evening of discussion, you decide to try your luck in the castle ruin and plan to meet at dawn for this short journey. Now remember, this is assuming none of you have ever role-played before, and that if I tried to make you all get to know each other, it would either fall apart or drag on forever because you don't know what to do. So it just sticks you all together quickly, so you don't have to stumble through that. Look at how many beginning games make you try to socialize right off the bat, rather than let you just get started and let the adventure help you build your bonding, ice-breaking activities, right? They don't account for that, and they make it very challenging for people to learn role play. Now, if you're an experienced gamer, it's not a problem, right? We know what to do. We've got all the tropes. It's a piece of cake. But for brand new adventurers, this is important to just get things going. Get them into the action as quickly as possible. You decide to try your luck in the castle ruin and plan to meet at dawn for the short journey. One special note, the town rulers have offered a reward of 1,000 gold pieces for the capture of Bargle, the renegade magic user.
Bargle?
Bargle, B-A-R-G-L-E. The death of Alina, a well-known cleric, was the last straw. They want to stop this danger once and for all, so keep your eyes open. All right. Is there anything else you last minute thought of that you need for your character? I'm not going to let you grab equipment or make any more adjustments. Other than if we made a mistake, we'll fix it. But so, John, you still have something you're writing down?
I'm just writing my special abilities, so I don't have the book open all the time.
Okay. Have you guys written down your special abilities in your character sheets?
I think all I've got is turning, but
Yeah. I mean, you will get to access the books if you need to, but I want you to be able to focus on the adventures rather than thumbing through the books too much.
Now I know exactly what they do. But yes.
Okay. You at least have a basic idea?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Okay. You just, when time comes, you'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
That's me. I'm supposed to take a medicine. So I didn't bring that much.
Do you want to do that? Oh, you didn't bring it with you? Uh-oh. Okay. Everybody, Danielle, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the
Okay, I want the books
all of the other ones
closed before I proceed, because details will be important on how many feet, things like that. I want you to pay attention.
Okay. Oh yeah, and I'm writing
Like
them
a
out.
mapper.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of important. Now, I am helping you, but that's going to come and go, so that's why you want that.
Okay.
Let me see. As far as bearings, that is the opposite. What the rosette on there is backwards. So if you want to wipe that and rewrite it the correct direction so it's less confusing.
That's fine. Maybe. Probably not.
I'm afraid you're going to get confused otherwise. Where do our markers go? Oh, they're right here.
It's north of you.
So that way is north.
Okay.
Right on the ground. Or we don't have to waste time measuring the box. Pretty map that he needs.
All right. It's morning, and you're off to the castle. It lies only 3 miles from town, just a healthy walk past a local farmer's fields. As you follow the dirt road past the farm, you greet the workers tending the crops. It's a lovely summer's day, and all seems peaceful. The landowner himself sits atop a wagon, watching his men, and chats with you before you continue onward. He mentions that he has had no problems with monsters, and if any lurk in the nearby ruins, they stay there like respectable monsters should. Every night, however, he carefully locks up all his animals. After bidding him a good day, you continue toward the ruin. As you approach, you see that the walls are jagged and full of small holes, and a few large stone blocks have tumbled to the earth, laying scattered around the ruins. A gateway in the center of the front wall stands empty, and the massive outer doors now lay rotting nearby. This gateway... Now I'm confused. This gateway seems to be the easiest entrance through the wall. You do see on the far left side of the wall, it's kind of off the tiles there, but the far left side of the wall, a gaping hole, and it could be another entrance.
How far away?
From where the left side of the doorway is, so counting from there, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. It starts 90 feet to the left. And then it's got about a 10-foot hole, and then there's a little tower there. Or abutment or whatever. Yeah. And then the beginning of a little tower that kind of sticks out.
Oh, yeah, 10 sorry.
The squares are 10 feet that we're doing here. Okay.
I started off like that,
Yeah.
and then I reverted back.
This is classic old D&D. We did 10-foot squares, not 5-foot squares. All right. You do not see any other entrances. The rest of the wall is crumbling, but a few wide holes have opened. The outer area has no other interesting features that you can see. There is a sheer cliff, the face of a mountain, that rises at the north edge of the ruins. So, like, this is built into a sheer cliff, rising up. So, the way it works with the caller is you guys talk amongst yourselves what you're going to do, role play in character, come up with voices, please. Something distinctive when you're talking in character. I want you to avoid meta discussions. Do you know what that means? Yeah. So don't talk about stats and numbers. Play as though your characters are just talking. You're standing there talking to each other and how you would talk to each other that way with your character voice. And then when you guys make a decision, tell the caller, all of you, and the caller will tell me what you guys do. All right? Go ahead.
So what are we doing at this castle again?
We're trying to find Bartle.
Why is there this castle?
Because everybody has to live somewhere.
He lives in a castle?
Well, don't you want to be a king?
Pretty nasty castle.
Well, you got to start low and work your way up. I mean, if I started any lower, I'd have to dig a hole. But anyways,
Can we try that hole?
well, we got the hole and we got the doors.
I think whatever dark miscreants are inhabiting this castle would expect us to go through the door. I would vote for the hole.
I have a torch.
Okay, you can use the torch because not all of us can see as well as you can. In fact, I had trouble just saying period. But anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yes, I was being horrible and everything. Now, yeah, I think you two, because you can beat on things, should be up the front, of course. And us, we will support you from back here with our bows. But the whole sounds like a great plan, don't you think?
I concur with your strategy, young one. I believe that
young one. I'm older than you are.
Oh, forgive me. I assume because of your small stature, but I have not met many of your kind. I do apologize.
Yeah, I'm small for even small people, but that's okay.
Me too, except for not as small with people.
I do believe it would be best that myself and our mystical companion here take up the vanguard.
Excellent. As courtlings, I mean, I will stay behind. Anyways. So, we want to. So are we going to go up towards? Or everything? How far? Well, at least I can do that because I can just not be seen for a little while.
You guys need to speak up more. We have it so that the audio cuts off below a certain point to get rid of the background noise, but you got to make sure you're speaking up.
Okay.
I think it would be best to avoid the rubble and take the quickest path to the hole. So, and additionally, if there are anything lurking along the ramparts, they can't drop things on our heads.
I hope for not being seen.
Okay, so we're going to go completely. What time? I'm trying to see what time of day it is. Let me stick an arrow in the ground and see what the sunlight looks like.
It is 8 a.m. Ding!
So according to my sundial here, it's almost 8 bells. It's at, or give or take something like that. So we are going to wander around this way in the order of march that we have. They're up front. We're going to stand back 20 feet behind them to give them plenty of room for us to throw arrows in at anything that they get melee. But we're going to go completely around here to this hole.
Okay.
He's afraid of the rubble, so we're avoiding it.
I'm not afraid of it, I just think it would be easier.
I think he's afraid of rocks.
And I have a torch that I gave to whoever's leading.
I don't know if we need it at this moment.
It's 8 a.m. and we're outside in the daylight.
Yeah.
No, into the hole.
Like, you want to examine the hole?
Is the hole dark?
It's a hole in the wall of the castle.
Wrong way.
No, that's the castle wall
Oh,
extension.
that's okay, yeah, there we go.
So count it out from the door,
It's
90.
1, 2,
You probably have to erase
5,
part of it
6. Okay,
7,
that's
8,
cool.
9.
So 6, 7, 8, 9. That's this one, right?
Yeah, it's dry erase, so it should be easy to punch a hole.
You don't have to lick.
All right. Well, I guess I'll hold my mace in one hand and the torch in another once we hit the hole.
All right, so who two walking around? You
All 4 of us, but we're giving them 20 feet of space.
okay? So and you're avoiding the doors, the
Yep,
collapsed
we're
doors.
coming around here. So let's give us 50 feet between us and the rubble.
Okay,
So we're going to come down like this.
okay.
Those two are in the lead, side by side. We're side by side, 10 feet back.
You mean
Bow?
in the same hit, or the same? Yeah, bow out, ready to go.
I'm moving silently. I'm going to try to.
Now, just so you know, this particular adventure, assuming a new DM with new players who've never role-played before, and a DM who's never role-played before, they prefer a more railroaded approach that you guys just go ahead and stay on the road and then have your first little encounter to walk you through doing the encounter procedures. And then the next encounter. It's very railroady, which I would recommend if you've not DM'd before and you have players who've never played before, stick to the script and let it teach you, because it is designed to then ask you one question and teach you guys how to play the game. Since you guys have played other role-playing games before, and I've run some before,
Yeah.
we can go ahead and adapt as needed. So you guys work your way around, and without any mishap, you come up to the hole in the side of the wall there.
So while these two are examining the door, the hole, and we're 10 feet back, so there, I am going to separate myself 5 feet to the side here, and I am going to hide in the door.
And I do want to remind you, if you avoid encounters, you're less likely to get treasure and loot and stuff, just so you remember your purpose for being here. Your primary purpose is not Bargle. Bargle is if you come across Bargle. Your primary purpose is to make money and a name for yourself and all of that. Remember that from the beginning. That was the description in the beginning. Was well, you guys are here for fame and fortune and loot and do whatever.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, if you happen to come across Bargle, there's a $1,000 reward. You're not going after Bargle as a primary.
Okay.
Just to correct what you'd said, because that was incorrect.
Okay.
So,
So also the other concept here is, with our planning is, I'm assuming there's not going to be a lot of loot on the outside of the gates.
You know what they say about assuming.
Well, sure, but I'm not that smart.
Okay.
I'm not
That's
that
fine.
wise.
That's fine. That's
And
fine.
I'm following the directive he gave.
Okay.
It's your fault.
All right. So you guys come up to the hole and look through.
I'm hiding, by the way.
Okay.
And I have a 90% chance of not being seen. And that's 79. And I am hiding while they're examining.
As I'm looking around, I'm muttering a little prayer to whatever the local deity is that I'm supposed to be.
Hey, Laura.
Sounds good.
As you started to creep up, you guys all hear back near the road a loud thump, and then another loud thump, just back near the road where the gateway was. It's,
Look back and see what we see.
well, from the angle you guys are at now, you don't see anything.
Good.
I'll go check.
Sounded like something heavy and wooden being slammed. You're going to go check? You're going to
Okay.
break away from the group?
Yeah.
Okay, so you go running off straight towards there?
I tell them I'm running off.
Okay, well then in character.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go check out what the
Character.
All right. Well,
Okay, one second. It's fine. You guys can continue. Don't.
What's your voice?
once you
I know.
I think if you're being a bad guy, you should be sneaky or something. I don't know, whatever you want.
I know,
It's up to you.
but it's less than I'm
Snooty. That's
Yeah.
right. You're
I'm like
a feet,
snooty
aren't
right
you? Yes, you're very snooty.
I'll go. You take care over here. I'll go check what's going on. But
And then you head off.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you start heading off that direction.
I'm going to follow him, staying 50 feet behind.
Okay. Talk to your group and tell me what the rest of your group does.
So, what are you guys doing? I'm going to keep an eye on him and shooting. Are you continuing to examine the door while I examine this, or should we just figure out what the thumps are?
I think it's best that we all stay together, so...
And I thought you need to go up and help that.
Yes.
I'm gonna stay back with him a little ways because
What's your name?
Dorian.
Dorian. You go help Mr. that guy. You go up, watch him. We're gonna stay back here. So I'm 50 feet behind him. She's 60 feet behind
I'm
him.
going to come up even...
By the way, wall is 50 feet high,
Okay.
and it looks very shaky.
So
Did he see anything through the gate hole when they looked? Before the thumping hit?
Yeah, you saw a building about 100 feet beyond. You saw a large keep. Yeah, the actual castle proper.
Okay.
So if
Yeah,
I'm using
courtyard area kind of, yeah.
a skill that, like, if I wanted to use the move silently skill and it has like 20%, do I roll?
Yeah, if you're trying to be quiet, you declare you want to move silently, and then you roll.
And so I want to get less than that number?
Yeah, you want to get 20 or lower.
Okay, I did not get 20 or lower.
What would you get?
90.
Okay. So you go crackling along.
Since I moved, I think I need to re-roll my my hide.
I should probably hide too.
63, so I am hidden.
What would hide be?
Well, that's a skill.
That's a particular ability that I have as a half-time.
Oh, and I didn't have anything like that.
Yeah,
Can
still
elves not hide then?
Right there, you had it. I remember in one edition where elves could hide as long as they stayed away from everybody else.
That's not this one.
You have infrared, vision.
So just so you know, the entire south wall, counting the gate and the little kind of tower things, is 300 feet long.
Wow. Okay. Is the gate in the middle of that?
Gate is in the middle, yes.
You get magic user spells, but you
The wall is
do not
50 feet
have
high.
a special hiding action.
Nope. So I guess I probably can't hide. Or if I can hide, it's something that's like a 10% chance or something.
All right, so you went to closed gateway. So this is kind of like a choose your own adventure. It tells me where to go. So the two of you are going to the closed gateway.
Yes.
And we're following.
50 feet behind.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get there. Okay, so how you're staying away from the wall though? You're not staying close to the wall.
Yeah.
Are you going all the way back around?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're looping back 50 feet away from the fallen doors. Okay. So as you get to where you can see, you notice that the main gateway is closed. Though there's the huge outer doors lying there rotting, there are a pair of inner doors that apparently remain that have now been slammed shut. Now the only entrance that you can see open is that 10-foot hole in the wall off to the left.
Okay.
I'm gonna climb the wall.
Yeah,
At
just
the
like
wall?
you're gonna so you guys are back here. You had to come
I'm gonna
out.
go towards the gate.
Okay, you're gonna cut straight through or loop all the way back around over here and come up.
Straight through, more like here.
Okay, so you're gonna walk past the pile of rubble of doors there.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I will follow him. Just
Okay.
'cause I'm trying to be
Hey,
protective.
hey, get back here. We're all working together.
We're gonna check
So
out.
as you pass near the doors, you notice some slight movement beneath the doors. What do you do?
I instinctually pull out one of my daggers.
Okay.
And ready myself.
And then
I wait to see what the moving doors do next.
the doors aren't moving. There
I-
seems to be some
I-
movement under the doors.
Yes.
Okay,
Like something got fell on by the doors?
maybe. It's hard to tell. There seems to be a little bit of slight movement under the doors. The doors themselves aren't moving, but something underneath them is moving.
I draw
Where-
a bow.
Yeah, there's a lot of rubble around here
I'm gonna
and
move
stuff.
forward 10 feet slowly
Okay,
since they're moving.
so you saw him draw a dagger and he's staring at the pile of rubble doors there.
If you want to stand ready, I should try and lift this door so we may investigate.
Okay.
I am preparing to shoot at the first hostile thing I see.
Okay.
So is this basically a strength check to lift this hunk of door up?
Well, you can give it a shot first. I'll ask you for strength check if I need you to.
Okay.
But you say you're just going to go and lift one of the doors
Yeah, where we saw
with
the
your bare
movement.
hands?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you approach and you go to grab one edge, suddenly the dirt right around it, the ground along one edge, crumbles away and a hole appears. There's something under the door, and you see a large worm-like monster stick its head out of the hole under the door. It starts sticking itself out and has 8 long tentacles in a circle around its mouth. It doesn't come all the way out, just far enough to attack you.
I fire my bow.
Yeah, we had ready
So,
bow actions.
I've got my monster. It has a little summary of the monster stats here, and some of its strengths and weaknesses, etc.
We're probably gonna die.
It says, be aware of the actions of the other characters, but do not allow any of them to attack in the first round unless they are next to the victim. If any missile fire attacks are desired, tell the players you must move around for a clear shot to avoid hitting your friends. You may fire next round.
How is fell for the trap? Like,
So,
like I see that.
what?
Would all these be sort of closer or further?
What's wrong?
Oh, we're just trying to figure out.
He wants,
because
he
it's a
wants to
mix
line
of-
up map A with map B.
Yeah, well, okay.
Because I didn't know. How
So
far
I've
away I
done
was.
that.
Okay.
I'm not. It's not because I'm OCD. It's just.
All right.
He's CDO. It's kind of like OCD, but the letters in the right order.
All right. So since you are right next to him, you can try to do something first. He's going to be attacked first otherwise.
Can I pull him back from the creature?
No.
Okay.
That would take too long.
Okay.
But you already had a weapon out, so you don't have to draw a weapon.
Sure, I'll try stabby.
All right, roll a d20.
I'm not rolling.
Not at this stage of the introductory adventure.
6.
Got it.
Remember, they start simple and layer things in as you go. You rolled a 6 in your first level mystic.
Uh-huh.
What chart does a mystic fight from? It's not even on here.
Probably fighter. That's where.
No.
I think the mystic rolls on thief, don't they?
Oh gosh.
I saw them.
Yeah, it's better than magic.
Yeah. Because thief and cleric are on the same chart. And then fighter and then dwarf and halfling are fighters on their own, and then dwarf and halfling have their
Magic
own.
user CTD.
Well, I'm not.
DH, which is demi-human. Wait a minute. It should be under the mystic chart.
The mystic uses the saving throws from the fighter.
That's saving throws.
Okay.
I think they attack like a thief, though.
I don't know. It doesn't say in the class description. Because
Well,
you guys have,
yeah,
all three of you have my book, my copy of the book, so.
Also, is that flare screen from the?
This is the BECMI master. Yeah, this is the original, so
So it wouldn't
the
have
mystic must have come later.
The mystic's after.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know when.
I mean, here it just has one hit chart for everybody. It doesn't differentiate for the introductory adventure. But since you've decided to go with a mystic, it can be difficult.
Yay!
You get to kill the action.
Killed something. I hope everyone else has a book except for me. So
I only have
Okay,
three.
It says here fighter combat options, so I'm guessing that he attacks as a fighter.
Okay.
and I also have thief ability.
Oh,
Specifically says, and mystics up to the 16th level, so you do count as a fighter.
All right.
That's what I thought.
good. That's pretty good then. So you rolled a what?
6.
Do you have a strength modifier?
No.
Okay.
Wait.
You rolled a 6?
I rolled a 6. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a miss.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know why we're looking.
Well, because we need to know. We're going to need to know. It's not going to be
And I
your
wouldn't
only
use a
attack,
dex
hopefully.
modifier for a dagger. No.
Not if you,
No.
oh, you
I
only
don't-
if you were throwing.
I don't think. Well, I don't. Yeah, that only applies for missile weapons in the basic version here. All right. In fact, I'm not even sure about that right at this point. All right. So you miss.
Yeah.
All right, and then you are attacked by all 8 of its mouth tentacles.
It's a lie.
All 8.
That's a good high AC you got.
Let's see. And your current AC is 8. So it has. Okay. Wow. It only needs an 8 to hit you.
Yeah,
And it rolls 8 times?
this is the most brutal introductory combat I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, John and I died very quickly against it.
Good thing crits don't apply. I've rolled 2 20s.
Oh my gosh!
Don't worry.
Well, don't worry, we only have 6.
Wow, this dice rolls really well. Thank you, Dots RPG, for these beautiful metal dice.
I think you need a dice tower.
I
All
think
right.
them all after this.
6 of the 8 tentacles hit you.
That's a little above average.
Yeah.
Save versus dead.
So now you must make a saving throw versus paralysis 6 times or be paralyzed. Although I'm saying this out loud, technically the way you're supposed to play this, but again, we're sharing this with the public and everything, is I'm supposed to say, if it fails, I'm supposed to tell you, you fall over, and then that's it. And nobody knows if you're alive or dead. But we're, again, going through sharing this process. So, roll your first one.
And I failed.
What was it?
12. I needed a 14.
Okay. You fall over. The rest of the players, you see them fall, but you can't tell if they're alive or dead. So now that that's the first round of combat, Ask each player for actions for the coming round. If the first victim is paralyzed, the monster will go after the...
This is what happens when the healer is also your tank.
So, caller.
All right. So obviously we discussed combat first.
Nope. Not for combat. That's for all the other stuff when you're playing.
Oh, so
we don't have time to discuss in combat.
So I just tell them what to do.
No, you tell me what you're doing.
Oh, you said caller, so...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should use your character name. I'm sorry.
Albie?
Albie.
I get the angle that I need so that I'm not going to shoot my buddy.
I'll fall out of the way.
There's no benefit that I'm aware of for shooting from hidden anyways. So I will just put holes in him. I one attack around for a bow.
At this point.
Okay, so and I have a +1 hit. So 14, which would hit armor class.
You're a
5.
dwarf?
I'm a halfling.
You're a halfling. Okay. Well, looks like dwarf and halfling both attack on the same chart.
Yeah, the fighter
Short
chart.
chart.
So. And what did you roll?
I rolled a 13, but I get a +1 for my.
So you rolled a 14 total?
Yeah, 14 total. I don't
Against
get anything for my
larger
dex.
creatures. Okay, so that one hit.
No.
What?
That's only.
Oh, that's right. If they
Plus
attack
with a
you,
missile.
they have a penalty.
I have an armor class bonus if larger creatures.
Okay,
attack.
anyway, you hit.
Okay, and that's a dice 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
With no bonuses that I'm aware of.
Well, I would say at this point, I
4
against my high wisdom.
All right, you shoot it right near the head, and you hear it protest greatly from the arrow stuck near its head. It is not happy.
I am
What
also
do you do,
going to
Dorian
move.
Yarg?
That's not
That's not.
I've already asked for Dorian Yarg's
What?
action.
Oh, did I pick the wrong? Oh, I'm sorry. Amara Lift. Sorry.
Okay. He pointed at me.
My bad. My bad.
I'm gonna
I
do
see
the
the
same.
resemblance.
I rolled an 18
Okay. With what? Your bow?
with my bow.
All right. You hit.
Okay, that's also a d6.
Yep.
4.
Nice. You strike it on the other side of the head. Its tentacles wave all over furiously. It makes hideous sounds and blood drips from both arrow shots. It is not happy. Those embedded pretty deeply near its eyes, so I don't know if you can kind of see that. It's got big bug eyes.
Ooh,
Yeah.
cut off the tentacle.
You colored in your books too, huh?
I don't know if I did or somebody did or if I got this used. I don't remember. All right. Now, Dorian.
Okay, so what would it take for me to take out my Lucerne? But I have to.
Full round as far as I know.
Okay. Then I am just going to.
I don't really know with the system. We'll
I'm
find
just
out.
going to attempt to stab him in the head with my dagger in my hand.
Okay, great. Stab away.
Ooh, 5.
That would be a miss.
I figured.
All right. And, of course, you're laying on the ground, unknown whether you're dead or alive.
I'll just sit here and process it.
All 8 tentacles reach out for you.
Yep.
What's your current armor class?
8.
Sounds familiar.
That means you need an 8 to hit. See if I can roll well.
Still hit. Jeez. All 8.
Okay.
Nice dice, Dots RPG. Thank you.
So I just have to roll a 14 or higher 8 times, you said?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, I failed.
You fall down.
Yeah.
All right. It then starts to crawl out and skitter over. Okay, so knock the other one down. There should be 2 down. Somewhere I have one of these creatures in my thing, but I'm not going to go look for it. Just use whatever. It's trying to crawl out and head towards you two.
Okay.
How far does
What
it
rank?
make it?
It's just still crawling out. It's long.
Okay.
It just gets a couple of segments out.
you want me to roll damage with the die rather than I miss?
If you want to, yeah, that's fine. That does speed up gameplay.
Okay, and I will put So I rolled a total of 13,
That's a hit.
and I do 1 point of damage.
All right. You do a little glancing blow off the carapace and dent it a little, but it doesn't seem to really care much. All right.
I am going to take a few steps back.
Okay.
5.
And you miss. And you're keeping track of your ammo, both of you, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All 2 arrows.
All right. All right. It then continues to crawl the rest of its way out until finally all 9 large segments and 9 pairs of legs crawl on out.
At least it's not eating us.
And, you know, it's a good-sized creature, and once it gets out of the hole, it suddenly moves with incredible speed. It can move 120 feet in a round.
So my
So
attack did nothing.
It's Anya.
Okay, so in between us like that?
Yep.
Okay.
Came running right up on you.
You already knocked yourself over.
You guys really need to beat that before it eats us all.
All right, it's your turn, though. It does not attack.
Okay.
It took all of its effort to get there.
So if we run this with new characters, are we just going to leave the body?
Yep. Pile them up.
17 and 3
I've
points
done
of
it.
damage.
I've had groups take 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
What?
17 and 3 points of damage.
All right. You slash off 2 of its mouth tentacles with the bow. Like, just good shot. It must have been weakened from your previous arrow shot, so 2 of the tentacles fall off. And you wound its left eye as well. And it screeches and pain.
I hide in plain
Pulls
sight.
back in pain. And it's twitching and it's still conscious, but it's swaying.
I tried to hit that thing with all of my might.
All right.
10.
10. And you're what?
An elf.
What's elf attack as?
Fighter.
Fighter?
Dwarves,
10 total.
dwarves, halflings, elves, and
What do I
mystics are all fighters. as far
Do
as-
you have a higher dex bonus?
I have a -2.
Oh.
Dex.
That doesn't help. So it bounces off its carapace. It doesn't penetrate.
I have a -2 strength.
Crap. All right. With its 6 remaining mouth tentacles, 3 attack you and 3 attack you.
Okay, my
Did you have a
armor
question?
class-
Yeah.
Yes.
Does it say anything in the book about paralysis?
Yes.
Okay.
It says what
Bad.
to do.
Okay. Well, I figured that.
It says don't let it happen.
I rolled preemptively like a...
All right.
My armor class is 3.
Oh, really?
He's like, whoa.
Against a large creature? Yeah, it's a 3.
Nice.
I'm just 7.
Okay, John, save us all.
He's going to have to drag us back to town. That's good.
You'd be better off getting people.
Just go find Bargle. Force him to try to
It's not as nice as I thought it would be, though. Okay. Well, you were luckier on the rolls that time. Okay, good. Oh, you're lucking out. And yours is
7.
7. Okay. The dice changed on you guys, luckily. 1 tentacle hits you, the other 2 miss. All 3 miss you. I started rolling low. That was lucky for you guys. Saving throw?
19 over 10.
Nice. So you feel a tingling and kind of but you managed to keep moving. You have another chance. All right.
take him.
Roll.
Come on, you can do it.
John.
Come on, Albie.
John.
Okay, 18 with 1 point of damage.
No.
All right. You shoot it in the other eye. It flounders around in pain, screeching. What do you do?
I shoot it. 12.
You miss, but it falls to the ground anyway, gurgling, bleeding, oozing, twitching, and
Because I
eventually
took out its 1 hit
dies.
point.
Eventually dies.
I collect arrows.
Okay. You're not going to go check on your companions?
No.
I'm going to check on my companions
All right.
first.
Well, I was just going to collect all
She's
of our
collecting all the arrows. So
All
she's
right.
going to give me my 2 back. I immediately check on the cleric first.
Okay.
And I start slapping him. Wake up, you lazies!
So the good news is, just so you know, if you ever run this for somebody else, the party should be able to kill the carrion crawler fairly easily.
That is so BS.
Any paralyzed character, and luckily I didn't roll as many hit dice for it this time as I did last time. I mean, same hit dice. I mean, I didn't roll as high on the hit dice.
Okay.
Because it doesn't give you set hit points, it gives you hit dice, and then you, for each time, has different number of hit points. That way it's different with every group. Any paralyzed character will recover in 3 turns, that's about half an hour, unharmed.
Yeah.
So, it is possible to wait, or you can drag them to the outer edge of the fields, etc. So, just so you know.
Okay.
It's not automatic death sentence.
All right, we're not good. I'm okay.
So anyway, they appear to be sleeping and paralyzed. Now, looking at the dead creature, you see that it was about 9 feet long and had many small legs like a centipede. You've heard talk of such a creature back in town. They call it a carrion crawler. So you look over at the cleric, and while you're there, you notice there's that hole by the doors. Do you peer into there
Of course.
to see if there's any others still hiding there?
Yeah, I want to know if I'm going to get killed.
Okay. You don't see anything moving. And with the body out of the way, you can clearly see a pile of coins at the bottom of the hole, about 8 feet down. Do you want to just go in and get it? Or does anyone want to search for traps first?
I search for traps.
You're unconscious.
I search for traps.
This is why you two are still paralyzed. Sorry, not unconscious. You're paralyzed. Both of you are paralyzed. You guys can see. You can't speak at all. You can't. You're completely paralyzed. You're lucky you can
Wait,
breathe.
you say 3 turns?
Yes. It's half an hour.
10 turns.
Okay.
Yep. Different segments. Yep.
I search for traps.
All right. You search for traps. Now, in the future, the DM should not remind players about traps, but in this warm-up encounter, try to help them decide what to do.
I
Do you have?
didn't roll. I just said.
Okay. You search for traps, but you want to. It's just encourage you to look anyway. Yeah. Now, there are no traps or unusual features to be found, but the character should always check.
Okay. I just looked.
You peer in, and you do see at the bottom.
I have infrared, so I can see. Everything.
Yeah, you can see the coins. Well, let me see everything because infrared doesn't work that way. But you see coins down there at the bottom, 8 feet down.
I grab my rope.
You're paralyzed.
No. This is.
Oh.
So can you just do stuff like find traps without having the ability of finding?
Well, you can say you search for traps and stuff. So this game, because it doesn't make you roll all the time like newer games, it's much more about just asking the right questions a lot of the time. So that's where being a savvy adventurer, which you gain over time, is hugely beneficial. Now, it is a little bit of a meta thing. It is a little bit of a bleed thing. It is a little bit of a character knowledge versus player knowledge. But actually, in these older games, the idea was that more experienced players would do better, and your character had less separation from you than in later versions of the game.
Like my question would be, why do I have a find traps skill that is only a 10% chance of doing succeeding?
Because actual hidden traps that are well hidden and stuff, you'd be the one to be able to find them. Others that are kind of obvious and stuff, people might be able to find.
You know that little wire that's across the trip path? Anybody can find that.
It's 2-inch cable.
Yeah. So yeah, but yours is real skill. Theirs is more just if they get lucky, or
So how much loot?
if they think to look and ask, then they see it if it's obvious.
I rappel down there using the other door.
There's a lot more in this game of not rolling if you just ask the right questions. All right, so you're going to do what? Rappel down? With what?
The
rope.
50 feet of rope.
Okay, and you're holding the rope?
No, I'm tying the rope off on these 2 bodies. I
No,
weigh
I was going.
30 pounds.
I was going to use the door.
The doors.
She
Yeah,
did
that's
mention
fine.
that. She
Yeah.
did
I
say
said,
it
I'm
out
gonna-
loud.
And you rappel on down, no problem. So you get down there, and it looks like There's a skeleton kind of mixed in with the coins. You want to inspect it more closely?
Cousin Jib.
It looks like it's the skeleton of a short, man-like creature whose head is
It is your cousin.
similar to a dog's. It's not moving. Looks like just merely an old skeleton of one of the carrion crawler's past victims. So this looks like the remains of another creature you've heard about, called a kobold. Kobolds act and live much like goblins, but are a different race.
And they're dog heads, not
You...
lizards.
What?
They're dog boys, not lizards.
Right.
Worship those lizards.
You carefully gather the treasure, putting it into sack... do you have any sacks?
I just have
Carry-
a bag.
Yeah, that's a bag. Okay. So you pile it into your bag. It is one... Let's see. Their coins are all copper and silver. You're not going to be able to fit them all in your bag. You're going to need to just haul them up.
Okay.
Unless you want to ask for bags. Because there's about 1,000 copper and about 1,000 silver, and you find 2 gems near the bottom of the pile.
I look on these two. Do they have bags?
I've got a backpack with almost nothing in it.
I've got a backpack
And 2 belt pouches.
I toss all those down there.
Okay, so
Ask
do
for a
you
cloak.
spread them among the... Okay, anybody have a cloak?
Nope. I almost got it.
Anybody got a... okay, what are you wearing for armor?
Chainmail? Leather?
I'm wearing leather armor.
Nobody has a shield.
But
But he's got a nearly empty backpack and a couple of belt pouches. Between all of you, you could divvy up the treasure roughly evenly.
Okay.
I own nothing.
So that would be 250 copper each, 250 silver each. And then you, of course, came across the 2 gems. Are you going to hide them from sight or share that you found them?
I'm watching
You
you.
would
from
share
above.
with your party. Yeah, but with thousands of coins, it would be pretty easy to sneak it if you wanted to, or be honest about it. What's it going
I'm
to
gonna
be?
throw one into it. And I'm
You gonna
slip
point it
the
out
other
or just
one-
slip it in with the coins?
I'm gonna slip it in with the coins.
Okay, and the other one?
I'm gonna put it in my boot.
Okay.
I was
All right.
thinking that.
So they're both garnets. Each one is worth 100 gold pieces.
Oh, those are nice garnets.
But we have to wait going to town to give you.
You also, near the very bottom, find a small leather bag almost rotted away. It looks like it probably belonged to the dead kobold. And in it you find 15 more copper pieces and a brass key.
Okay, I'm going to put all of that into the other stuff.
The party treasure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do you mention to him, hey, there's a key here? Or just lump it in with the coins?
Oh, just gonna say there's other stuff in here.
Okay. Without specifying.
Be more specific.
Stick the key in
There's
there.
a key and a piece of garnet.
A piece of garnet. How big a piece?
You'll see. It's coming up.
Okay. Well, get him here. How are we supposed
So
to
if a
break
dwarf
it?
examines them, you can judge that it's about 100. Your dwarves are able to judge values.
I'm a halfling.
So, I'm sorry, you keep talking like a dwarf. I keep thinking you're never
Well,
mind.
that's because I'm.
Who's a
ugly.
dwarf?
No,
Nobody's a
horrible.
dwarf. So none of you actually know how much that garnet's worth. All right.
I'm trying to
So-
talk like somebody with a palate, but I can't. Enough of it.
All right.
And our encumbrance level
So-
is high.
Now, by the time you do all of... So, half hour goes by. You guys are still mucking out the coins. You guys slowly become unparalyzed. It's about 8:45 in the morning
Okay.
when you start to move.
So all of these coins that we just had,
They're still loading
every
up.
single one counts for coin of encumbrance.
Yeah, 10 coins is 1 pound of encumbrance.
Okay, that's.
1 coin.
I don't know if I want all this copper. It's
So
not,
1
it's
pound.
2.5
Oh, yeah.
10
gold,
coins is 1 pound.
And each coin is a coin.
2.5
So,
gold,
yeah,
Yes.
my brain.
encumbrance.
I'm gonna be well over my encumbrance.
Yep. This is one of the challenges of finding loot is what to do, how to transport, how to deal with it.
Well, now we can go get better
Here,
stuff.
remember it's only an hour walk to town.
How much encumbrance are we allowed to carry?
You can carry a
Well, you
lot.
can carry
but
a
slow
lot, you
down
just
a
move slower.
bunch.
So as long as you don't get in a fight or have to run, you can load up.
Yeah, as it was, I was already
Ooh.
on the next part.
It's not page 80.
Perhaps we should ask the farmer overseer if we might borrow his wagon that he was sitting upon. to help carry the coins back to town.
That seems like a reasonable request. You can carry 2,400 income.
Oh, well.
Before you can't move.
I just want to make sure I'm not for now.
If you have
pretty
over
dang
400,
close.
that's where you
Huh?
slow down.
I'm pretty dang close.
520.
Oh, it's after 10. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I told you when
Sorry.
it was 10.
I didn't hear it. Usual to in stages when town is nearby to grab some loot, go back to town. Grab some loot, go back to town, and do it bit by bit. That's actually the smart way to do it when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
Just do a little bit at a time. If you charge straight in, your group almost always dies. If you're careful, cautious, recharge, rebuild, all that,
So I'm
then you
thinking,
usually
I'm
do
just,
well.
I'm gonna.
An armor class.
That's
go
why
to
keeping
the-
the Borderlands
I
is so
can't
important
talk
because
to
keeping the Borderlands is so important because it gave you a base of operations to do
Right.
that.
I'm gonna head back and ask the farmer if he will help, and I offer to I'll.
Okay, so you'll
Okay,
ask the farmer. He says absolutely not. It's too important. He doesn't know you, doesn't trust you, but if you want a wagon, you can go buy one in town.
Yeah, I'm gonna slowly walk to town with my.
Yeah, at first he was friendly, and as soon as you asked for
And all my
something, he
copper
turned
food.
sour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he says he needs it. But it's like, then what am I going to do? I got to go buy a new one. I'm perfectly happy with this wagon. Go get one yourself.
I didn't want to take his wagon. I was gonna ask if he would drive it.
Yeah, he's got work to do. He's got to have his fields taken care of. He doesn't
He's
have time for
sitting
your
there watching
shenanigans.
people. He doesn't have things.
He's got to make sure they work.
Is there a bank
You
in this
going to
town?
argue with him more?
No.
What?
Is there a bank in this town where I can exchange copper for?
There's no formal bank, but there are money changers that can
Okay.
do stuff like that for you.
Yeah, I would like to.
For
do
a
that.
fee.
Oh, that's fine.
Well, you haven't
Well,
heard how much the
define- yeah.
fee
The
is.
fee, 100%.
No, it's typically 20 to 30%.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Probably.
I'm gonna buy things, but that'll take forever.
All right, so you guys going to just take all the loot back to town?
Yeah.
All right, so you all have to travel slowly with your heavy load. It's almost 11 by the time you trudge into town, exhausted, with your packs and sacks bulging with loot. I mean, that's a fair amount of money. You guys have never had that much money on your person at any given time before.
I
Except
look
for maybe you.
ridiculous because I'm carrying it in my armor since I don't even own a bag.
And, no hit points of damage. A little numb and tingly, that'll clear up after you rest. Both your legs were kind of shuffling a little for the two of you. But you're back in town and you can spend and do what you want and live it up and party or whatever you do.
So
Make offerings.
20 silver, 2 gold, right?
Yes.
20 silver?
Yes.
Is it how
It's
much
10 copper to a silver.
Okay, so it's okay.
Silver's nickels.
All right.
Oh, wait, I shouldn't put that on there.
And copper's like half pennies, basically.
Those are things I need to look
Copper's a
up.
penny.
This is my notes.
Oh.
Okay. How?
So I think
No, it's
I-
out. You're right. It's a half penny because it's 200. Yeah, it's a half penny. Yeah.
So that's like a gold and a quarter for all that
Well,
copper.
Right.
no. Oh, for all the copper. If you.
Yeah.
The 250.
200 copper is 1 gold.
So it's basically 13 gold and
Shoot, what was my question? You just had?
20
Oh,
silver.
do we get experience at all from that?
At some point here, yes. At some point, we would go ahead and do experience. You didn't make it far enough for that to matter. But keep track of how much treasure you accumulated. I think that works out. Each gold piece is worth like 1 experience point typically, if I remember correctly. But it might be there might be a ratio. I forget what this was.
I think it's 1 to 1.
Yeah. Well, we will be continuing this. We're going to get through this entire adventure in sessions on and off. That's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd love to see what happens beyond the carrion crawler.
Yeah.
yes. And at one point, we're going to pick one of the B adventures, and then that should get you guys leveled up enough to go to expert.
Okay.
And then at one point, we will pick one of the expert adventures, and then we will kind of jump you up in level.
I love dread.
Yeah. Well, instead of making you do a whole bunch of X adventures, because you'd have to go through quite a few of them to get through expert. But once you've done one expert adventure and leveled up from that, we'll then bump you up to companion masters. We'll keep, like each adventure will then bump you to the next one. So that after, I'm not saying sessions, I'm saying adventures, but after about 6 adventures, hopefully we'll get you up to Immortals level, or you're doing an Immortal adventure. Because I really want you guys to experience these different stages.
I've never been to companions. So.
Exactly. And those really are about domain building and politics and such.
Yeah.
Politics.
Yes.
It's a bad idea to have me in that party.
All right.
So, a little taste. What do you guys think of this, basic,
it.
very basic system?
I like the fact that we
Can
can
we
jump
leave
in
these
because,
here somewhere?
character creation is really quick.
Right. And if a
Yes.
character dies, not that big a deal, huh? But you can still learn, and, it's a bummer. You don't want to lose a character. Yes, please. Hand me all your characters.
Is there a stapler?
There is, but it's probably all floated into the kits.
Here's the blanks.
Okay, go ahead and
And I
hand those.
collated them. So.
Thank you.
Put my name on this too.
Oh,
Yeah, just put it at the bottom.
oh,
Stan.
my name is on the. Oh, but I should put my name on the second one.
Oh,
Yes.
I didn't put
Yeah,
my
I know,
name on
Yes,
the
please
second
do.
one.
Please do.
Can you spell my name?
You can ask for your name. It's some elvish.
So we won't consistently play this every time, but every chance I get, I want to throw this at you guys so we can get you through it. It's such a fundamental, foundational thing that a lot of people have missed, and I'm hoping it'll give you guys interesting ideas and comparisons to other games. But every time you hear somebody say we need a lightweight system, just go, already exists, already in print. You can buy this right now on Drive-Thru RPG for, I think it's $20 for the printed book, for the soft cover. I think it's $30 for the hardcover.
Sign me up.
Yeah. So, thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed. Please consider donating to RPG Research at rpgresearch.com/donate. Tomorrow morning, we'll be back on Tuesday from 9 a.m. to noon. It'll be our researchers meeting. We'll be talking about our latest role-playing game-related research projects, the blog postings related to the research, and what's coming up there. Wednesdays when we're doing our interviews and such for new volunteers and staff. Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m., Danielle and John will be hosting the RPG Talk Show. They'll have various topics for that. What?
I said 4.
4 to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Did I not say that?
No, you did. I'm saying that again for John.
Oh, right. He's usually not. That was a fluke. And then from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., this is all Pacific time, by the way, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., right here on youtube.com/RPG Research, will be John running... you're teaching. We'll be teaching RPG 9901 courses 1 through 4.
See, where's your character sheet?
He gave it to me.
Oh, okay.
He already bypassed you. He snuck past you.
Aha.
He is the rogue.
Never trust a rogue.
Well,
With your heart!
Well, have you seen that Warcraft video of Never Trust a Rogue? Oh, you haven't seen it?
It's a dancing troll, isn't it?
Well, it's a bunch of dancing. No.
good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, dream well.
Thanks for playing.